Everybody, it is Monday, April 23rd. We're going to be starting off today's meeting with a public consultation. I'll turn things over to our Director of Corporate Administration to read aloud the notice.
Okay, thank you. This public consultation is being held to discuss comments received from anyone who may be affected by the proposed change to the city's official community plan bylaw. Amendment bylaw number 4133 redesignates the property known as Brookside Cemetery, located at 6th Street and 108th Avenue, from light industrial to public institutional, and there were no written comments received.
Thank you. So I'll turn to the gallery then to call 3 times for comments. Calling a second. And a third time. Seeing none, we will then close the public consultation. And then we will move to opening up our public hearing and again go to our Director of Corporate Administration to read aloud the notice.
Thank you. Again, this public hearing is being held to hear from anyone who may be affected by the proposed changes to the city's official community plan and zoning bylaws. OCP Amendment Bylaw number 4133 redesignates the property known as Brookside Cemetery, located at 6th Street and 108th Avenue, from light industrial to public institutional, and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4134 rezones the property from M2 light industrial to P1 public institutional. And same, no written comments were received.
Thank you. I should probably just note for public information, this is more of a housekeeping issue that we brought forward to make sure everything's zoned correctly. So we'll call 3 times again on this. Calling a second. Third time, any comments? So seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Thank you very much. And on that, at 8:35, we will call to order our regular meeting of council. And we'll start with new councillor business. I have one thing that was submitted by Councillor Parslow on 2-1. Councillor Parslow.
Okay, you have before you a memo. I'll read it aloud. The following resolution was passed by Council at the regular meeting held February the 6th, 2012. Move, second and carried report number ADM 12-013 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development. Sportsfield Road extension be received. Further, the Council approve an extension of the Sportsfield Road to 122nd Avenue, including a full access intersection with speed bump paving only entrances, complete with concrete box drainage culvert at 122nd Avenue, and further that $295,000 for the project be identified in the 2012 capital plan for budget discussions. At the time this resolution was passed, an amendment was proposed to include paving of the entire street for a total cost of $675,000. This amendment was defeated. I would like to request that Council reconsider the project through increasing the city's borrowing and propose the following resolution. That Council approve an extension of the Sportsfield Road to 122nd Avenue, including a full access intersection with speed bump, paving, complete with concrete box drainage culvert at 122nd Avenue, and further that $675,000 for the project be identified in the 2012 capital plan, and that further the extra cost of the project of $380,000 for the paving be funded by increased borrowing. Respectfully submitted.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. And do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Malkinson, seconding.
Point of order. Actually, would you allow me to say point of order? Mr. Parslow actually can't move this motion because he voted on the losing side when we considered this last. I'd love to propose it, but he can't.
Jim, do you have any advice there for me?
I did consider, through your worship,
because I know we talked about this.
This was considered. I believe it can be put forward just because it is a different funding source that's being asked for.
Okay.
It is technically a different motion.
Changed, yeah, if it's changed, that's right. I didn't see a difference here.
Thank you. So do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor McFadden. Any in discussion, Councillor Parslow?
Yes, we've talked about this before, but this thing has been resting on my conscience for a little while, and talking to users of the sports fields. My concern is that we're going to be creating a gravel road that will generate all sorts of dust, maybe some stones, and it will make the use of at least the soccer part of it, and to a less extent the softball part of it, because of prevailing winds, quite unpleasant for users. My second reason is I don't think it is a good stewardship of our funding, because if we pave it, if we put in a gravel road and then subsequently want to pave it, there'll be a whole bunch of extra work and extra costs. And reflecting on, I think it was Rupert Kurt's comments at our last public consultation, you know, that it's much more cost effective to do it properly the first time rather than do it incrementally. So I'm all in favour of the extension, and they're the reasons for asking council to reconsider.
Thank you, Councillor Schumann.
Yeah, so this is a project that I have wanted right from 2008 being elected. This opening up the end of that soccer park road, or the sports fields road, was something I certainly wanted. And when it came before us with the smaller budget options, I was happy to choose the smaller budget, being that, you know, I wouldn't want to have anyone get 800 signatures together and stop us from borrowing because they seen this as unnecessary spending of city money. So I was against it initially, but since then I have heard from several of the user groups as well as Rupert Kirk, and so I would be in favor of this, and hopefully 800 people don't sign on a dotted line. Thanks.
A little gun shy.
Little
Any
gun
other
shy.
questions or comments? Councillor Malcolmson?
You said that the biggest concern was the dust, wasn't it, for these user groups? Rather
Well,
than
yeah, I can say the soccer park's been there for probably 3-4 years now. Well, time flies, it could be 5. And that has been the biggest complaint for the most part all along, is the amount of dust that gets kicked up when we have the dry summers. And as Councillor Parslow said, the prevailing winds blow it right across the soccer park where all the kids are playing. So I know that's been one of the big issues. I mean, some of the concerns that are brought up is making it a thoroughfare, and I think it'll be incumbent on, I mean, just like any other road that we have in the community, people adhering to the limits. And I know in this proposal there's also speed bumps in there as well to try to slow people down. But right now, definitely dust is one of the big things that we're hearing from the user groups as an issue. Okay, Councillor Wilbur?
That was part of my question. I guess I'm in agreement with Councillor Schumann that that was my original concern too, and that the public how would they feel about us spending that money? But in talking to some of the user groups, and especially parents of the children, there's quite a few parents that came forward whose kids actually have asthma that play soccer quite well but have problems when the dust is blowing. So when you look at health issues, that kind of stuff, perhaps we're better to step out, spend the money, and complete it at first stage. So I would be in agreement in spending the $675,000.
Okay, Councillor Kenny?
Yeah, I'll be in agreement too. I didn't realize that there was such a dust problem. I thought we were more worried about gravel roads. And so with the kids running and breathing heavy with their running and exercising in the field, I'd hate to think of them inhaling that dust while they're doing it. So I fully support paving that.
Thanks. And see, that would be mine and Councillor Parzow's fault last time this was brought forward for not bringing that issue forward, right,
Yeah, I
Councillor?
never talked about dust.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so we'll call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And it's carried. So under Councillor Business, maybe I'll go over to Councillor Kenny. Was there anything else Council had?
Well, been pretty busy lately. Went to the Site C information session put on by BC Hydro in Hudson Hope. And, it was interesting to listen to everything that they've done to date, and it's quite a phenomenal project. There were a few concerns from the people there, other people from the local governments, on that it seems like everything's happening too quickly. Like they're purchasing land for their shop in Fort St. John, yet their environmental scan isn't completed, and so it appears that they're moving ahead without finishing their consultations. But then they also identified that to complete the environmental assessment, they also have to identify everything that they're doing, all the activities that they're doing in order to be approved. So, but it was very interesting. I attended the art auction. They held it at the Best Western this year, and it was a great event. And Best Western definitely was a great place to host it. And went to the Johnny Reid concert, which was absolutely amazing. And it was jam-packed. I don't think you could have fit another person in there. And I just had such an amazing evening. There were so many happy faces, and just a great entertainer for adults, children, and every genre. It was awesome. Went to the trade show. It was great. Lots of great exhibits there. And also I attended the Skills Force Council, the pilot project that's put on by the Ministry of Advanced Education. And it's in stage 2 where they are pulling together a task force to identify the next steps as far as what projects or what could be done to with existing programs to assist in building our skills force. So they're talking about using the our educational institutions, our high schools and our colleges working together and universities, but they're also talking about the marketing for recruitment. So that is going ahead, and I'll be sitting on that task force.
Good. Thank you for that. Councillor Parsley, you had your hand up. You have something?
Sure, just to add a little bit to what Sue just shared, on Wednesday, the sightsee hearings are here, and I found the map that we were given in Hudson's Hope of the levels of water and all that stuff very interesting, and I've shared that with a number of people, so that's a valuable resource. I think the art gallery auction is great. I enjoyed going to that. I think they're to be commended, the organisers, for putting on a very good, well-organised function, and I hope that pattern continues. By that I mean a hosted dinner and so on. I attended a Historical Society meeting, and well-run meeting, but one of the side benefits of that is I'm receiving a lot of information from members of that society, which I find fascinating. So I enjoy attending that. The Miles Zero Part Society meeting, the chairman resigned, and an interim chairman, Dale Campbell, was elected for that. And this Wednesday, will be AGM of the Miles Zero Part Society at the Sudeten Hall at 7 p.m., I believe. And so I think there'll be a good attendance at that, and of course later on today we'll be appointing our city reps to that question that's been asked of me, though, which I just flagged, and we'll maybe discuss it later, is what are the city's expectation of these appointees on that board, but that we will discuss maybe.
When we get to 7-2, I think
Yeah.
that'd be a great question.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Schumann had a hand up?
Yeah, I will just talk a little bit. I want to congratulate the Kiwanis Club for another super successful trade show. It was very well attended as far as I know, and I certainly enjoyed my time down there that I spent at the city booth. I also want to congratulate the Elks. I attended their district meeting, the District 1 and 3. They're celebrating their 77th year doing good works in our community, so I wanted to congratulate them on that, as well as the Royal Purple Ladies are celebrating their 67th year in Dawson Creek, or District 1 and District 3. So congratulations to them, and I really enjoyed going to dinner there and representing council and mayor, so
Yeah.
that's all I really have.
And thank you for that. Councillor Wilbur, you had your hand up? Sorry?
Oh, yeah, well, we got a few
Thoughts on it?
things going on. We're in full into pitch-in week, so everybody pitch in, do your part. Councillor Melkson will be joining me, but we're going to be going to the schools this week, so tomorrow we're at Tate Creek, Wednesday McLeod Frank Ross, Thursday we'll be at Trombley, and Friday we'll be at Trombley again, and because we're here, Erin Oliver is kind enough, she's at Canalta and Rolla today, so we're getting out there talking to the kids and seeing what they can do to pitch in and will give us some ideas. So that'll be fun and interesting. May 5th is city cleanup, so we've got till May 2nd to register a group of 10. I believe we've got 34 groups so far, and we have 60 areas, so if you know anyone, get them involved or get them to sign up. I also attended at Hudson Hope, and I was actually very interested that BC Hydro has already been engagement with the college to train for positions that they're going to need. So that's a benefit, I think, to both Dawson Creek and Fort St. John having those campuses, but that they're looking at that and realizing there is shortage of workers here and how can they train them. So that was interesting, and I really enjoyed the trade fair. There was lots of good feedback and some difficult questions, but I think we handled them. So that was good. Really good turnout, and I was happy to see all the different exhibitors. So that's all I've got for today.
Good, thanks. No other hands? Okay, Councillor Malcolmson?
Things are going good at the library. We've been having some sessions discussing their present needs, and I believe either staff or council will be seeing a presentation from them in the future. The next library board meeting is on the 14th of May, and a watershed society is in the works as well for this week or next week.
I was going to say any other councillors, but I'll take the S off the end. Nothing at this time, so we'll move on to minutes under 3.1. Now we have the minutes of regular meeting from April 2nd for adoption. Councillor Schumann, Councillor Wilbur seconding. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. And is there any business arising from the minutes? Councillor Malcolmson.
I was curious to know how the issue with Chamberlain Drive is going. You know, we communicated to the homeowners that interim solution is being sought out. Wondering how everything's going there.
Jim? Kevin?
Through your worship, we had priority plumbing down on site, went through a number of homes, inspected for backwater valves, things like that. Spoke with a number of homeowners. There was no smoking gun, as you would call it, solution to that problem. So unfortunately, we're still moving ahead with sewer master planning and that detailed work, and we'll keep forging ahead.
Okay, thank you. Any other business arising? Okay, so we'll move on to correspondence. First one we have is 5.1, letter from Clinton Shane Ekdahl, and this is regarding the Day of the Honeybee. Councillor Kenny.
Receive for information?
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Schumann. Any discussion?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think this is a serious situation. If something's happening with the honeybees, they're dying out there, and I don't know.
It's great to bring the attention forward. Our policy, though, for a proclamation, we have to have a local chapter in order to be
Well,
here
then
to
maybe
receive.
I'll start a chapter and come back next year.
There you go. Glad to see you're worried about the bees there, Councillor.
Well, absolutely. What was the motion?
For information.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? So all those in favor? Any opposed? And I'm looking forward to seeing Councillor McFadden next year receive that proclamation.
Thank you.
5.2, letter from the Peace River Extreme Sports Club, and this is a letter of support from Peace River. Councillor Schumann.
I would move that we send a letter talking about what how our skate park has worked out. I think that it's been a lovely bonus to our community for our youth. I know my children spend time down there, and lots of other children. Even to the point they were down there this winter shoveling it off so that they could actually bike during the winter when there was snow, which I thought was incredible, that, you know, these teenagers that generally like to sit around on the couch playing video games were out shoveling the skate park so they could bike. So I think it's had a positive effect on our community, and if we could send a letter telling this community that it was good, I think that'd be all right.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Wilbur. And discussion.
I just actually wanted to mention that I was excited to see that they took into consideration a winter area and an arts wall, which are two issues that we didn't think of when we built ours. But so I thought that was very ingenious of them that they considered the winter months and they considered some place to put graffiti. So good on them.
Any other comments? My only comment would be on the wording of that, if we're talking about specifically of how ours functions, things like that, I can be in favor. I think it's a slippery slope if we're assisting other community groups to lobby their mayor or council for funding. That's not really our role. So we need to be careful with that. So if the letter is structured to just say this is what has or hasn't worked for us, I'm a little worried. Jim?
Your worship, perhaps the resolution can be that staff respond with
To
staff operational perspective on the park. Keeps the politics out of it and may not raise the issue you're talking about where you're seen to be interfering in politics in Peace River.
Well, I certainly didn't want to be interfering with politics in Peace River. I just thought it would be nice to let them know that the skate park has been all right in our community. But that sounds like a great idea.
Thank you, yeah, because I was just worried about perception. If we're sitting there saying, yes, we have one, you should too, guess what message that sends politically?
Yes, we have one. It's worked out great in our community.
Exactly. So if that's the understanding then?
Sounds great to
Okay,
me.
so all those in favor? Anyone opposed? It's carried. 5.3 is a letter from the City of Kamloops, and this is the City's Fit for Children Conference, May 10th to 11th. And I know we already have Councillor Schumann registered for this conference, but we brought it forward just for information. But Councillor Kenny, if anyone else
Received
is
for
interested.
information?
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Malkinson. And Councillor Schumann, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I'm pleased to attend this conference. I sit at the Success by Six Children First Board, and Heidi Cuxcardas invited me to come along with that. I'm going to be carpooling with her down there and staying with a friend, so costs are going to be minimal, and I think that it's Cities Fit for Children would be an interesting conference to attend. So thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so all those in favor? Anyone opposed? It's carried. 5.4 is a letter from Lorraine Nelson. This is regarding the city bus route changes. Councillor Kenny.
I would like to make a motion that we inquire with, to see with the transit, to see if we can have the bus do the similar route so that these people that are leaving the pool will be able to get on the bus.
Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Any discussion there before I jump in? Councillor McFadden.
I've been approached also by some seniors, and myself included, regarding the bus stop. And I took it upon myself. I took my vehicle and my stopwatch, and I started at the where the bus stop is now. I went around the corner and parked in front of the pool where the bus stop should be. And I sat there for 60 seconds, and then I drove forward and made the loop back around to the bus stop. Total time was 90 seconds, so 15 seconds in, 15 seconds out, 60 to wait for the passengers. But there is a problem, I understand, about making the U-turn at the end of the parking lot in there. But I see we have a plan here for $88,000 to do another bus stop. I'm confident that our public works can solve that problem with the bus turnaround at the other end, and I would support Councillor Kenny's resolution that staff look into it.
Before I go to Councillor Parso, Jim, can you refresh my memory? Because we went through 6 months of public consultation about this change and the other changes that the bus routes we're looking at. Do you remember off the top of your head what some of the issues were of why they were choosing to go in there, not go that road? I know safety was a big one.
In this particular situation, there isn't enough time in the route for the bus to go both into the casino and loop around and into the pool and loop around. And regardless of what it says about our society, far more people go into the casino than go into the pool on that route. And since they couldn't accommodate both, they accommodated the casino. The assumption at the time was that we would eventually come and put a sidewalk on a bus stop. We can't do that at the casino because it's private property. If you are going to ask for another review, first off, we have to get scheduled. Since they just went through a 6-month process where they talked to every person who rode the bus, they held public meetings. it's unlikely that we'll get high priority for another review. So in some point in time in the future, I can't tell you how long that would be because transit has only one route planner, and sometime in the future, between a week and 2 years from now, they will do another review where they will talk about what they would take away in order to have that bus stop go into the pool. And I appreciate Councillor McFadden timing it out, but there are many, many more issues than that that will have to be canvassed. And we have no unilateral authority to change this. We would have to wait for the process to play out. I can't tell you how long that process would take. Could be
It's
2
usually
years.
next time they're asking for input. I just am thinking here, when we asked the bus to move one block to incorporate Driver House, which was going to be a huge ridership, it took us 2 years and almost political interference to try to make that happen.
But at the end of the day, we have a great outcome.
Yeah.
You have this letter regarding two individuals who would like to go to the pool. As you will recall, you were being flooded with complaints from senior and school-aged riders over your previous route. And the new route has been very, very well received.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parslow and then Schumann.
Well, this letter grabbed my attention. I must confess I didn't know that the transit bus did not go right to the front entrance of the swimming pool. Many seniors use the swimming pool. I think that's great. And I'm sure, I just wondered, you know, I'm used to buses, obviously, using buses from my background, and often buses would have a little sign, you know, that swimming pool, or you could have a swimming pool casino. They don't have to go to both, surely, every run. I mean, I'm sure there's a win-win here. I think we could find out when the seniors tend to use the pool, which I imagine is in the morning, not exclusively, but it's heavy uses in the morning. And I would imagine the use of the casino is quite light in the morning, so I don't know why we couldn't approach and ask Summit bureaucrat to be a little creative and come up with a win-win solution to this.
Okay, Councillor Schumann.
Yeah, I really appreciate Councillor Parslow's comments. That's exactly what I was thinking, that maybe the timing between the casino use, and quite frankly, I don't know why we'd choose to stop at the casino rather than our pool doors anyways. That kind of goes against my thinking. But my question to staff, through your worship, is when do we foresee this sidewalk and bus shelter, etc., getting to the location?
Well, I can answer that. Never, unless council actually approves it. Staff put this forward because one of the comments was, you know, if we left the bus stop where it was and we had a shelter, but there's no safe way for pedestrians to get from the bus stop to the front entrance without walking on the actual roadway. So that's why staff came forward and actually took the initiative to say, if you wanted to, we could build a sidewalk and put a proper shelter there for people to be out of the wind, rain, and snow waiting for the bus. And this is an approximate price. Unless council actually makes a motion to add this to the budget one way or another, possibly through borrowing, or possibly through, that'd be to Shelley to be creative. I think there might even be money left over in the transit savings, but the issue, I guess, there, to your question, is it's not going to happen unless council moves that. Jim, is that accurate?
Yes, your worship, but there's no need in having it if you're going to start a process trying to get the bus to go back through the parking lot. But to Councillor Parslow's comments, neither the city nor the operating company has the authority to change the route of the bus. Only BC Transit has that authority, and there is a process for that. And the reason for the process is BC Transit has a responsibility to the riders who get off at the casino as well as the ones that get off at the pool. And so they're going to have to go through this whole process. Yes, it is possible that there's two people that would like to ride to the pool in the morning and there's no traffic to the casino, but it's also possible after school there are many kids that want to go to the pool at the same time that people want to go to the casino. I don't know the answers to those questions. That's what the route review process is all about. It starts with council directing me to ask for a route review. And then it goes to transit, and then we're in the process.
I'm a little reluctant to ask for a route review after we just asked twice, and we're one of the few cities to actually have been accommodated in that.
The bus is not a taxi. It does not go door to door. There are many, many, many people who have more than 100, 150-foot walk to get to their bus stop.
Yeah, I know we've had many places in town come forward and ask to have the bus stop moved in front of their place, which has not happened, so.
They can have
Councillor Schumann?
So then, I would like to make the motion that we add this bus shelter and sidewalk into the budget.
We already have a motion. on
We
the
have,
floor.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
That's the motion?
No, we already have a motion on the floor.
Oh, sorry.
What's the motion again? I'm sorry.
That the letter be received and that staff be directed to inquire with East Transit regarding the proposed bus route change for the multiplex.
Question.
Okay,
We're voting on asking them to...
we're voting on them to ask them to change the bus routes again.
Okay.
Question?
Okay, so the question's been called, so all those in favor of that? Opposed? It's passed.
Democracy, Your Worship.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay.
So, in saying that, Councillor Schumann, there's absolutely no point bringing forward the motion now for putting in a sidewalk and bus stop, even though it could be a couple of years till we get this review, so we'll have to wait and see.
Can we...
Councillor Schumann?
Could we forward the letter that we received to somebody, transit, somebody?
Staff will probably just attach that, maybe, I don't know. Jim? You bet. So on that, it is just after 9 o'clock, so we are going to stop with the regular agenda and bump up to delegations, because I know we have a couple of people waiting. The first delegation we have, I think he's out there, 6-1, Duncan and B. Well, just I can tell you about it after. Oh, sorry, sorry, Duncan, I didn't see you there. You are in here behind the pole. Thank you. So we have 6-1. We have the first a proclamation today that I'm going to read aloud, and then I'll invite you to come forward. So whereas the Day of Mourning was initiated by the Canadian Labour Congress in 1984, and whereas on April 28th each year, the annual Day of Mourning is now recognized worldwide, and this year, commemorative events will be held in British Columbia on April 27th and 28th. And whereas the Day of Mourning is a day to take time to remember lost co-workers, friends, and family who lost their lives, were disabled or injured in the workplace, and those afflicted with industrial disease. And whereas we earnestly seek to set an example and reflect on our commitment to the issues of health and safety in the workplace, now therefore I do hereby proclaim April 28th as the annual Day of Mourning in Dawson Creek. I'll sign that. B. Well, that's good. Thanks for coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know this Friday.
This Friday at noon, we invite everybody out to the Workers' Memorial in the corner, where we'll have some presentations, and then we'll head back to the fire hall, and we'll have a lunch there, joint effort between the city and the
North Central Labor Council.
change the name. So that's it out. And I think we had some information.
I think you read most of it that was on the proclamation. I will not be here to join you. I'll be on Parliament Hill in Victoria, and we'll be having our Day of Mourning at 11 in April 28th on Saturday. So we changed it here for a Friday as it's a work day. But this is the 28th year that we have put on the joint day of mourning. So I hope everybody can come out for it. And
We encourage everyone to come out, obviously not just from the city, City Hall, but everybody in the city.
Yes.
Support your
Bring
companies,
your
your
friends.
workers. And if it's raining, we'll do what we did last year and we'll be in the fire hall.
That's right. But it's going to be beautiful, sunny.
I love your offer. I like it too. Okay, thanks a lot. And we'll move on now to 6-2. I know we have Ms. Gilson in attendance. And we have Valerie Gilson and I believe Bridget. Yes, we do.
Bridget's here.
From Peace Energy Co-op to do a bit of a presentation. So, good morning. Presentation and introduction, I believe.
Yes, it is. So Mayor Bernier and councillors, thank you for letting us come and give you an update on Peace Energy Cooperative this morning. Peace Energy, as you know, renewable energy cooperative right here from Dawson Creek, was incorporated to promote the development and adoption of renewable energy resources in the BC and Alberta Peace region. First today, I would like to introduce you to our new Executive Director, Bridget Shields. Bridget she's a Dawson Creek native and she's returned to us from Toronto to take over the position of Executive Director with Peace Energy. We're excited to have someone who knows the community and has a big connection with the community and lots of passion for renewable energy. As our ED, Bridget will continue the consistent messaging that we've been promoting throughout the region, and I hope that the community will welcome her as warmly as they did me 7 years ago. Peace Energy, as you know, was the initiating developer of the Bear Mountain Wind Park, which we see out our window today. Maybe it's a little too foggy. 102 megawatts of clean green energy flowing into the Dawson Creek grid, and whenever we turn on our lights or our computers, it's coming into our homes and businesses. The last quarter especially, we've seen some very windy conditions, which has been great up there on the hill, lots of generation coming into the grid. We were really surprised actually because on Easter Sunday I was out for a sunrise service and they weren't turning at all, and I thought we had problems up there, and there was not a breath of wind even up on the top of Bear Mountain on Easter Sunday morning. This spring, last spring, we had worked with Tourism Dawson Creek. Peace Energy had worked with them to put together a tourism brochure and map. A lot of people didn't know how to get up there and didn't know what was up there, but they could see it from the city. So we were really happy to work with Tourism Dawson Creek to put the tourism map together for people. Peace Energy held its AGM on April 14th, and we announced a lot of new endeavors to our membership. They were very excited to hear quite a few things that we're coming up with. Our Research and Development Committee and our marketing committees were very, very busy throughout 2011 talking to inventors, developers, and distributors. And I have a couple of things I want to introduce to you this morning. Our new Peace Energy website, first of all, peaceenergy.ca, it was released on April 12th, just prior to our AGM. It's a brand new face for Peace Energy, really bright and flashy, and we're really excited about its bolder look and its new features. You can view it and soon be able to purchase our Power Shift book and art cards of the Bear Mountain Wind Park through our website. Right now we have just the pictures up there, but we are an affiliate of Amazon, and our Board of Directors has put together a lot of books that they've enjoyed reading. And if you go through our site to purchase anything on Amazon, Peace Energy gets a little bit of a kickback on that to help offset the costs of hosting that website. So the website is an ever-evolving project. It'll have probably almost daily or at least weekly updates for the next little while. Peace Energy and Northern Lights College. We were happy to announce last week that we've signed a memorandum of understanding with Northern Lights College. We've worked informally on a couple of projects with Northern Lights over the last 6 years, one of them being Energy House, which is a really exciting project here in the city. And this formal agreement with Northern Lights gives us a lot more, what's the word I want? Gives us a lot more excitement and a lot more pull to be able to work together to promote education on renewable energy and also hopefully development projects, those that will be greatly beneficial to the city, to the education district, and also to Peace Energy and our membership. I saved the best for last, I guess the most exciting for last. We launched at the trade show this past weekend our V-Bine. This is a vertical axis wind turbine. It's taken Peace Energy 3 years, our Research and Development Committee and our Board of Directors 3 years to find a small wind turbine that we would actually promote and sell to the community. And so after a lot of hard work, we discovered this. This is V-Bine Energy out of Winkler, Manitoba. It is Canadian designed and it is Canadian manufactured, which makes it a really exciting product. It's not coming from outside the country, but supporting jobs and development inside Canada. So the V-Bine was originally designed for a smokestack on coal-fired power burning plants. And then the telecommunications industry picked it up because, of course, it will fit on a monotype tower. Also, with the addition of a tower above it, it gives the telecommunications industry the ability to add other equipment to it, even add more than one turbine on the same tower. There's actually a TELUS tower going up in Regina, I believe it is, that will have 4 vertical axis V-Bines on the tower. So the vertical design allows V-Bine to take wind from any direction. The panels will pick up any wind and begin to turn at 1.2 meters per second, which is extremely low wind, and it will put out 5 kilowatts in peak winds. It is direct drive, like our Enercon turbines, which was another thing that we were really excited to see. Thereby, it has extremely low maintenance. It has no bushings, no springs, none of that type of thing in it. It has 2 sealed bearings, top and bottom of the generator, which don't need any maintenance for 20-25 years. And this turbine has a life expectancy of approximately 30 years. Also, with the vertical design, it is extremely low RPM, so it's very friendly for our flying friends. Obviously, this is a display model. It isn't actually this size, although we had some people at the trade show that thought this would be good for the air generation, the warm air coming off their wood stoves, and wondered if they could actually get these. And I said we could probably work on that. But this turbine in real life is approximately 7.5 feet in diameter. Each of these panels is 6 foot, which gives it a 12 foot height. V-Bine Energy is currently doing prototypes for a 1.5 unit and for a 10 kilowatt unit. So we look to have a broader range of this turbine available. We are the only dealer in British Columbia currently, and the only dealer that is west of Edmonton. So we have a pretty broad territory that we were able to pick from. Currently we're going to be looking at the BC and Alberta Peace region, up to Pink Mountain, maybe further north, and into the Peace region up to Peace River and across. It's going to be a big start, I think, because we had a lot of interest from the oil and gas and communications in the area, as well as rural residents. But the design is reasonably compact and lightweight, so it's great for urban, for high rises, for cabins, for a lot of different applications. So V-Bine mounts easily on existing buildings. When I was in Ontario, I went to view several installations. They had it on the side of a silo at a farm. It was on a tower at a industrial site, and it's also on the top of a school in Windsor, Ontario. There are videos of installations on the vbine.com website, which we will be linked to by Wednesday of this week. So Peace Energy has a number of other initiatives that we're looking at. We have other wind projects. Of course, we are a renewable energy cooperative, but being as we're in the Peace region and it's a windy Peace region, there are other wind projects that we're looking at. And nothing that I can tell you or even our members right at this time, because we are held underneath confidentiality agreements. But look to come back again, and Bridget will be back again to update you later in the year on other exciting developments that we have. So thank you for your time this morning.
Excellent. Councillor Schumann, I believe, has a question.
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
it's nice
Councillor.
to see you, and welcome to Bridget. We look forward to hearing more about Peace Energy over the years from you. And I want to congratulate you on your website. I'm looking at it now. It's really beautiful with all of, I'm sure, Dawn's photography in here, and it looks really great. So congratulations, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kenny?
Just for curiosity, what is the cost for a membership?
A membership in
Yeah.
Peace Energy Cooperative is $200. It is always going to be $200. That is a lifetime membership, and there's no other obligations attached to that to invest. We have a number of members that just want to be part of the Peace Energy Cooperative, and a number of other members that are very excited for any opportunity they have to invest in renewable energy developments.
So it's just a one-time?
It is a one-time fee
$200.
for $200, and that's a lifetime membership. We have corporate memberships available also if businesses have over 60 staff. Membership is, it is 5 memberships or $1,000 to be a member of Peace Energy, but individual or joint memberships are $200.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Well, thanks, Valerie, for coming in.
Thank you.
And
Thanks very much for your
congratulations,
time.
Bridget, and we look forward to working with you. We have one other delegation here, a proclamation with Mr. Jeremy Earl, and do you have... Not till 10? That's right, thank you.
One of those little ones when you get the little ones.
I think I even have that in the notes. So on that, let's move back. Actually, do you need a break? No? No? Let's move back to 5.5 under correspondence is where we left off. And 5.5 is a letter from Mr. David Johnson regarding, it was forwarded to us from the Honorable Blair Leckstrom. This is regarding a Dawson Creek Transit bus system as well. So this will be similar to the other one. So Councillor Schumann,
I would move this for information, please.
seconded by Councillor McFadden. And questions? Councillor Wilbur.
I don't really have a question, but I did have the honor of talking to Mr. Johnson, and I think I started this process by telling him what the process was with his concern. So one, I want to congratulate him for doing that correctly. And two, he's making it very aware as a self-advocate that accessibility always doesn't mean wheelchair accessibility. So realistically, I don't see our bus routes running till 10 p.m. However, maybe something that he can advocate for, and I'm sure Truly and I can talk to him when she gets back in June, is that maybe he could talk to a sponsor that could maybe offer some assistance with getting back from concerts. So his concern was that he saves money to buy a ticket to go to a concert. He can take the bus there. He can't get home afterwards. And so there are hundreds of people in our community that do have accessibility issues because of their disabilities, and that doesn't mean it's a physical disability. So I just want to put out there that I'm very proud of him for writing this letter and sending it in and advocating for people who do have accessibility issues. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions or comments? No, I did meet with Mr. Johnson as well. We talked about, all of the issues that came up during that 6-month public consultation and 3 meetings that we had with BC Transit when they were up here doing their route changes. And this was one of the things that was looked at that time. But for, the odd time when we had the concerts, it just didn't obviously financially seem feasible. And it's one thing I reminded him about, and we've talked about too, is it's not just disabled people in town. It's seniors, it's kids, I'd love it if my daughter was able to take the bus home at 9 o'clock at night as well after work, so I didn't have to get off the couch. But it's just not practical. So any other comments? No. So all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. 5.6 is a letter from the Dawson Creek Society for Community Living. This regarding a sponsorship for the community events calendar. just to let you know it's in the budget. We've done it every year. Councillor Kenny?
I'd like to move that we support the calendar for $1,000 to help cover the costs for editing, publishing, assembling, and distributing calendars.
Seconded by Councillor Schumann, and comments.
I should
Councillor
leave,
Parslow?
I have a conflict in this. I'll get on the board.
You're on the board, aren't you? Yes, thank you.
Go on to students. We'll be back.
You can hobble out. We'll call you right back in. Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, so I have, I'm totally in favor of this. I believe it's in our budget.
Yes.
And do we need a motion if it's already in our budget and something we do every year, or?
It's, that's a good question. It's a good
Won't
point,
hurt.
but staff brought it forward just because
Okay.
it's an opportunity just for us to show that we are going to continue on with this.
Yeah, good.
And,
I'm glad that we're continuing on with this.
But as you said, that technically it is in the budget. It's already been approved, so
Okay,
subtly.
yay.
Okay, any other comments? So all those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. You can go retrieve Councillor Parslow.
Maybe take the
Took 'em-
chair and wheel it over.
Took him longer to walk out than he did for the vote. So. Yeah, that's from the chair, push him back in.
Bring the chair over. Wheel it over.
So next is 5-7. This is a letter from Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and this is for the Bowl for Kids' Sake. Councillor Kenny.
I'll make a motion that we receive for information. I know I'm away, that if anybody else is around, go for it.
Yep. Excellent. Yeah, and I think it's come by a couple of years. 1 year we had a few people go. Last couple of years, unfortunately, the timing is a lot of us are away. So, so for information, seconded. Councillor McFadden. Any comments? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And 5-8 is a letter from the Heart and Stroke Foundation, and this is regarding smoke-free outdoor public places bylaw. Councillor Schumann.
I move this for information as well.
Seconded by Councillor Kenny. Any questions? Councillor McFadden.
Do we have any, we don't have any local bylaws to deal with this, do we?
Not specific to
No.
this here. Jim, we have...
No,
the-
Your Worship, we have a bylaw that designates city buildings as no smoking within the buildings, and we have bylaws that mandate what bars and pubs have to put up as information, but we have nothing regarding open spaces.
Thank you.
Most public buildings, as you know, have the sign saying no smoking within 3 meters.
That
or
was my,
things like
yeah, I
that.
wonotted if that was our doing or somebody else's.
That's usually, most businesses put their own, and that's a lot of
Okay,
it.
thank you.
So, any other comments? So all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. 5-9 is email from BC Transit, coincidentally, looking for their review panel.
There you are.
And this is an invitation to make a presentation to the review panel, but they're only going as far north as Prince George this time because they've already been up here. For information, Councillor Parslow, seconded by Councillor Kenny. Oh, sorry,
I'll do it. Second.
second, yeah, Councillor Kenny, second. But
Oh.
she had her hand up. Not nodding.
All right.
Any discussion on that?
Pardon me?
No. So seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. We'll move on to reports. So the first report we have here is 7-1. This is report 12057 from the Director of Corporate Administration. This is regarding our economic development strategy for terms of reference. And somehow we've turned this into a bigger thing than I thought it would ever be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not sure why yet, so looking for a motion by anyone. Yeah, because personally this is way beyond the scope of what I thought we needed to get into, but Councillor Kenny? Sorry, Councillor Kenny, you had your hand up? Or?
I'd like to move the recommendation, and then then we'll do the discussion afterwards.
Sure.
So.
Seconded by Councillor Schumann, and then go ahead.
Okay. Well, the recommendation, though, it's to form a task force, be formed with its membership, including the following representation: Mayor, One Council, Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Industry, Retail, Oil and Gas, Agriculture, Arts and Culture, and the general public to create a terms of reference for an economic development strategy. And in our strategic planning priorities, there were items that came up that the facilitator recommended that looks like we need to form a task force of sort in order to review those, which meant he put it in the form of an economic development strategy. We're talking about the growth of our community and everything that's attached to it, everything that's impacted by it, social, schools, infrastructure, buildings, housing developments, all the extra development due to to industry. And so in that, we don't have any, we do have our official community plan, but did we really expect the influx of industry that we have, that we've realized, and we're going to be realizing a whole lot more in the future. And so it just makes sense that we do a plan to look at where we're going to be sitting 10 years from now. What's our workforce going to look like? What's our labor pool, our health system, our social system, our infrastructure? And I brought a plan actually that was done by Chetwin, and what it did was it did a whole analysis on existing industry, on their housing situation, on their hotels, on their services, and how it would be impacted by industry, by talking to industry and getting, like, we all have anecdotal information. We don't have actual statistics. We don't actually have actual
how did Chetwin
data.
do that? How did Chetwin do that? Did they?
They did that. What they did was they hired
somebody.
They hired somebody to do it, and so I feel what we need to do is we need to. We kind of have the terms of reference already. We have it in what was identified in the strategic priorities on what we want looked at. We have samples, and I do have the sample that Chetwin did, and there's other samples out there. And we haven't had a study done, it's since 1998? When was the last study, Jim? I'm sorry.
Okay.
But anyway, it's been a while, and lots happened in our community since then. And so I really strongly recommend that we do this, that we have this in place so we really know where we're at. And so we would have the consultant review the plans that have been done to date, which there has been work done in other communities in regards to industry. There's work being done by the different producers in their environmental scans and their environmental assessments, that there's work that they've done, their due diligence. And I really think that we should have this all gathered and reviewed, and then have recommendations on where we are at in the scheme of things.
Okay, Councillor Parslow? You had your hand up, sir?
Yeah, I'm just digesting Sue's...
okay, well, while you're digesting that,
Yeah.
I'm just a little confused, and the reason being is the motion is to put a task force together. What you were talking about was hiring a consultant, which is two different things.
Yeah, well, the consultant, I believe in the recommendation, yeah, it does have to be changed. I just didn't quite know where to begin.
Sure.
I didn't want it to fall off the table. It was like, this is where Gord McIntosh was going.
Well, actually what happened, if I remember, there was about 20 different things we were talking about, and Gord said, you can't do 20 things, just compile it into one, put it under Brenda, and just say economic development strategy. I think we have to be very careful on what our expectations are, because when you look from an economic development standpoint, the last 3 years have been the best 3 years we've ever had on record in Dawson Creek. The first 3 months of this year, the best we've ever seen. Over $150 million of development. Our town is booming. Most towns that have done economic development strategies are trying to say, we see something falling off the rails here. and we need to get on top of it before it gets out of concern here. But what Chetwynd did, and I know what Chetwynd did, was more of, we're already going through a lot, how do we compile it into having some statistical data? I'm in favor of doing something like that if that's what council wants, but that's a budget item almost for next year.
Well, that's what we call economic development sustainability. It's still part of your strategy. It's all part of your strategy. You know, economic development isn't just bricks and mortar. It isn't just industry. It's all of it. It's the whole picture. It's education. It's health. It's the whole picture. It's not just trying to get industry into your community. It's also business retention for your existing businesses. Though you have your big businesses coming in here, and they're doing great. You go and talk to your little guys. They're not doing so great, a lot of them. And so that's part of your economic development too, is business retention. Look at the businesses in town that are looking at immigration. They're looking at immigration because they cannot find the people to fill the spots in their stores and in their shops and in their retail. That's economic development. Like, so it's not just oil and gas coming in here, and it's not just big business coming in here and these big shops coming up. It's the little guy, it's the whole thing. That's your economic development.
Okay, Charlie?
There's a lot of things, I guess as I'm listening to this, I must confess that at the time of strategic planning, I wasn't really, I didn't buy into this as a pressing need because I'm aware of so many things going on. And I guess I'm concerned that there's so much replication. And I would need to have a good handle, you know. We have economic development groups. We heard at Hudson's Hope about labour force staff and training, Site C. I'm aware that Northern Health gets into this, of course, about future planning strategies. Certainly I would concur with Sue that I know a number of small businesses that are not favouring that well. So I'm a little sceptical about these sort of things, and it would help me if I could see how all the existing things that are going on, or some of the things that we're doing, or some of the things that other agencies are doing, fit into this. Because I hate replication and duplication. This might pull a whole bunch of things together, but I need to see it in a more pictorial way for me to be able to support.
Yeah, and that's one of the issues. Right now, the motion is to put a group together to do a terms of reference, and that's kind of where, for me, it's, you almost need expectations before you put terms of reference, and we're kind of a little lost on that one right now. Councillor Kenny, one more?
One more. Well, maybe this task force would be, like we have suggested groups for this task force. Maybe we do need a task force, like to start with, to identify those things. You know, have a representative from the oil and gas, from agriculture. I think we would, and Chamber of Commerce would be representing small business. Maybe a task force is what we need. Look at what's out there. Hear what the task force has to say. Because I know when you get those people together in a room and you start discussing what is happening, that they are going to be very happy to see something done, to see it pulled together. So carry on with the task force for terms of reference. We'll answer the question that Councillor Parslow is asking, and Your Worship.
Okay, Councillor Wilbur.
I'm just going through this, so I'm just on this page, and this is kind of what stands out to me is that, you know, in the report it says that council and city staff will be able to provide valuable insight and assistance towards the terms of reference for the new economic development strategy. Additional input is necessary from all areas of the community to achieve a successful result. To ensure that the community is well represented in all stages of this process, staff is suggesting that the first step be a creation of a task force with representatives from all areas of the community. That's what I see this being, is gathering information from the community and then deciding where to go. And I don't think there's any harm in creating that task force to gather that information and then answer some of the questions that are going to arise or are on the table now.
Okay, further Questions? I don't see hands, okay, so I'll call the question then. So the motion is as the recommendation, so all those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Malcolmson? Okay. It's carried. Seven two is report 12067 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding the Mile Zero Park Society. And this is for the two directors that we look at appointing on behalf of the city. I know that we have a couple other names that have come forward. Mr. Don Pettit submitted his name here this weekend as well. And I believe Mr. Parzo had one other name to submit.
Marilyn Crouch.
Okay. And then Councillor Schumann, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I would like to move that we appoint Tim Bennett and Don Pettit to the Mile Zero Society board. That's an
Sorry, I must write that down.
appropriate motion.
Tim Bennett, and Don Pettit, because we have to put two names forward. Okay, so second that first, and we can discuss. Councillor Kenny. And then I wouldn't mind, before we get into a discussion on the actual names, Councillor Parzo had a really, I think, valid question earlier that I wouldn't mind turning over to Jim if he is able to help us. And that's, if you know, on the Mile Zero Parks Board, what, as the two city representatives, they're voting members on behalf of us. So what do we see as their roles and responsibilities, I think, is what Councillor wants.
Well, through your worship, they're your appointees, but they don't do anything on behalf of you. The way the board is constructed, various of the original creating partners have the right to name representatives to the Mile Zero Park Society board. Your expectations of them is that they will participate willingly and enthusiastically in the work of the board, that they'll apply their best judgments, and that they will do what's best for the park. They are not in any way constrained or required to consult with council about how they will conduct their business as a member of the society board. They're bound by the constitution of the Mile Zero Park Society board. Your position of council liaison is the one that takes to the board the various perspectives of council and receives back from the board the various perspectives of the board. Mm-hmm. That's not the role of these two individuals. These two individuals are to act, under their best judgment, basically.
On behalf of the community as a whole.
And on behalf of the park.
Yeah, the park.
They undertake a fiduciary duty to the park when they become directors.
Okay. And do we have questions then or comments? Right now, Councillor Schumann, you put forward Don Pettit and Tim Bennett. And I know there's information, most of council knows Don Pettit, and Tim Bennett has a actual full resume that he put forward for council's consideration. Seeing none, so we'll call the question on that. So for those two, all those in favor? And opposed? And it is carried. But we have three opposed. We have Wilbur, Duncan, and Parsley. Yeah. Sorry, were you opposed?
Yeah.
Because you didn't put your hand up for either, so you were in favor.
I know, I'm sorry.
Councillor
Maybe for
Parsley.
clarity, have the vote again?
I think we'll do that, yeah. Because you didn't put your hand up, so, sorry, we're just to confirm, we'll do that again then. So all those in favor of those two names? Anyone opposed? And we've got four, so it is defeated. Councillor Parslow.
I should have explained this before. My reason for voting against it is just the process we're using. I think I envisaged, and this is no criticism at all, I guess I envisaged that we would have all the names on a slate and we would vote by secret ballot or something like that. That's the reason, it's the process. These two people, I know
The process
one,
in the past is just,
yeah.
actually, to be blunt, the process in the past is we very rarely get
That's right.
more than two names for it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know what
through your worship, we're seldom oversubscribed for these positions. That whole willingness and enthusiasm to participate in the board thing hasn't necessarily been here. You may not hold a secret vote.
No.
What you could do is go around the room and each counselor could name their two preferred, and then we could, Brenda and I could total those, and the two with the most total would be on the board if that was the will of council.
Yeah, because it cannot
feel
be
that,
done,
yeah.
you cannot do it in a
No, that's fair. I understand that now.
And-
closed kind of process, yeah.
And that's kind of where I was. I didn't realize that was just going to be like two people, boom, and there you go, when you do have other people there.
So for cleanliness, we can always make a motion then. I don't want to just go around and do as Jim suggested without having a motion suggesting that that's the process that council wishes to do. So if that is what your wills are, your wishes are. So Councillor Malkinson,
I move that council resolve to speak aloud their suggestions for the board, and that staff decide, well, tally up the
okay, as,
proper names.
Sure.
And
and is that seconded then, Councillor Parslow? Is that what you had?
Absolutely.
Okay. On that, I'm going to screw
We
things up
need to
here.
be clear that everyone knows who the names are.
That's right. That's what I was going to do is I'm going to call a 5-minute recess. Fill up your coffee mugs and look at the names. Just make sure so when we go around the room, everybody's clear of who they want to put forward. Okay? Thanks. 5 minutes. Okay, so we're going to call the meeting back to order.
To get it done. It's a good.
And we are back to 7-2. Motion is on the floor to go around the room for people to list 2 names out of the 5. So just for clarity, I will put forward, just so people are aware, we have 5 names that have been submitted. We have Mr. Don Pettit, we have Marilyn Howard, Tim Bennett, Charlene Javatkoff-Wangert, and Paul Javatkoff. If I missed anybody. Those are the 5 names that have come to me.
Say that again.
Don Pettit, Marilyn Howard, Tim Bennett, Charlene Javatkoff-Wangert, and Paul Javatkoff. Okay, those are the 5 names. So I'm going to start with Councillor Wilbur. Let's go that way.
My 2 names are Marilyn Howard and Tim Bennett.
Councillor Malkinson,
Marilyn Howard and Don Pettit.
Councillor McFadden,
Marilyn Howard and Don Pettit.
Councillor Schumann,
Tim Bennett and Don Pettit, please.
Councillor Parslow,
Marilyn Howard and Charlene Weingart.
thank you. Councillor Kenny,
Don Pettit and Marilyn Howard.
okay. And you know what? There's really no point myself even voting. We have 4 councillors for Mr. Don Pettit, 5 for Marilyn Howard. So those will be our 2 representatives. So on that, I would need Jim.
Through your worship, you should put yourself on record as well.
Oh, okay.
And reflecting the will of council, you should probably put yourself on record as Marilyn Howard and Don Pettit.
Considering my job is to reflect the will of council, that's a point taken. Thank you. So it would be 5. That's a good point. So I will do that. Don Pettit and Marilyn Howard, which is 5 for Don Pettit, 6 for Marilyn Howard. So the motion was to go around to do the vote. That is the results of the vote. So all those in favor? Anyone opposed? And it's carried.
Your worship, was the question that you just called to actually vote on the actual members there? Okay.
Yeah, we were kind of wrapping it all into one.
Yeah,
so.
I got you.
So we have 1 in the room. Congratulations and thank you for putting your name forward, Marilyn. And Councillor Parslow is our, as I think you are aware, is our representative out there. And again, thanks to Councillor Parslow for all his help, because as we know, we have a contract with the Mile Zero Park Society to run Rotary Lake, Pioneer Village, and the campground till at least 2013. And they're going to need lots of input as they go through the next year and a half. So thanks, everyone. So the next one we have is 7-3 is Report 12037 from the Deputy Director of Corporate Administration, and this is regarding the City Recognition Awards Selection Committee. As you know, we have a committee and we have people willing to come forward again. Councillor Kenny?
I'll move the recommendation that the City Recognition Awards Selection Committee be received, and further that Barb Handysides, Judy McGowan, and Luella Hadland and Wendy Cox be appointed to the committee for a one-year term expiring April 30th, 2012.
Seconded by Councillor Parslow. And questions? I guess for the new council, if you're not aware, we actually put this out, Brenda, I believe it was quite a few years ago. We kind of put it out to the community because instead of having it as a council, when it came to naming rights, we wanted to have the community more involved. So we actually put some criteria together, and people in the community who compile any names for any kind of naming rights within the community. And anytime there's something that comes up now, whether it's a plaque, a road, a building, we could submit it to this group to kind of vet it and come up with some suggestions or ideas to bring back to council. So, okay, Councillor Schumann.
So expiring April 30th, 2012, like next week?
The minutes.
Oh, okay, so 2013. Great, that's what I thought it said.
Good catch.
Let's do this all the week.
Yeah, every week we look for a new committee because we just know how eager people are. Okay, just no other questions, so all those in favor? Anyone opposed? It's carried, and thanks again to those individuals for putting their names forward. 7.4 is report 12058 from the Deputy Director of Corporate Administration. This is regarding the 2011 election campaign financing disclosure statements. Councillor Parslow.
I'd like to move the report number ADM 12-058 from the Deputy Director of Corporate Administration of the 2011 election campaign financing disclosure statements be received for information.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Kenny. And Brenda, this is information obviously because the names get listed now with the province and council has no jurisdiction. This is just for our information, right?
Yeah, we're legislated to report it to council as well as send it into the province.
Okay, that's why it comes to us then. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so all those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. 7.5 is report 12066 from the Chief Financial Officer, and this is regarding the BC Transit annual operating agreement. Councillor Malcolmson.
Move that report number ADM 12066 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the Dawson Creek annual operating agreement be received, and further that council approve entering into the Dawson Creek 2012-13 annual operating agreement with Diversified Transportation Limited and BC Transit.
Okay, thank you. Second by Councillor Schumann. And any questions or comments? Okay, so all those in favor? Anyone opposed? It's carried. 7.6 is report 12056. This is from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development. This is regarding a development variance permit 1525 on 113th Avenue for a second story on an existing garage. Councillor Parslow.
I'd like to move the recommendation. That report number ADM 12-056 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development, redevelopment variance permit number 12-01 for Rick Loki at 1525-113th Avenue be received. Further, that Council deny development variance permit number 12-01, which allows for a garage with a second story which is 2.3 meters higher than the maximum allowable height.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wilbur. Any questions from council? Councillor Kenny.
I'm just wondering, if this is on my street, so should I leave or do I vote?
Jim?
Through your worship, if Councillor Kenny believes this might in any way affect her property value, she should probably leave.
I think that answers Jim's question. Councillor McFadden.
Don't we have, we just appointed a variance board?
Board of Variance?
Is this not something they would take care of rather than council, or? I'm not sure how it works.
A little different, but Jim?
Yeah, through your worship, the Board of Variance can deal with minor irregularities. This is a significant variation that would require your approval if it was going to be allowed.
Okay. Must be a pretty big garage if it's...
If you look at that picture, it's basically...
I haven't actually, yeah.
If I understand the issue, it's 2.3 meters higher than our maximum allowance. So we're talking almost 10 feet higher than what we allow.
Yeah.
It should be noted too that council under our new zoning through our OCP, how we were allowing for densification. We were trying to push for the opportunities for people to have coach houses, for possible secondary residences. That is not the case in this situation. It appears to be possibly more business oriented, which is not a living quarters. But even then, it is way, even if it was a living quarters, it would still require a variance because it's way beyond what we allow.
Looks like it's a standalone building too.
He already has an existing garage in the back. He wants to add
Oh, I see.
15 feet or 20 feet to the height of it.
Almost airplane size.
Councillor Parslow?
Good. You might want to recalculate your 10 feet. 2.3 meters.
7 feet.
Yeah.
7, 8 feet.
Well, I mean, I know you, just for the public record, I mean, I know you can multiply.
Councillor Schumann?
So this will go out for all the people in the community to comment on?
Not if we deny it.
Oh my God.
If we deny it here, it's done.
But if we allow it, then it would go out to the neighborhood to
We would have a public consultation hearing to hear from the public, yes.
Yeah.
Brenda, correct?
Yes, it would go out for 10-day notification period, and if there was nobody opposed to it, we would carry forward.
Okay.
And then at that time, it would come forward like this morning. And,
Yes.
If there was opposition, it would come back to council.
yeah.
I see two pictures here. One is as is, and then another one is how it would be.
Yes. Yes. Page 3 of 10 and
Yeah.
2 of 10.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Parslow?
My issue with all these things, you know, you have a community plan, you have these standards. If you allow it for, my headspace has always been, if you allow it for one, you better be prepared to allow it for whoever else wants to do it. And it really changes the nature of buildings on residential property. So with regret, I have to say no.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so motion as read out then. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It's carried. And Sue can come back in if she can hear us. So Sue is back in, and we're on to 7.7, which is Report 12061 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development. This is a development permit application for Mr. Trent Lindbergh at 249 116th Avenue. Councillor Schumann.
Yes, I'd like to move the report number 12061 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development, redevelopment permit application 1209 for Trent Lindbergh to be received. Further, that staff be directed to proceed with the required notification process for the development permit 1209 and authorized to issue development permit 1209 to Trent Lindbergh for the construction of a freestanding roof for the grandstand at 301 115th Avenue, the fairgrounds, upon successful completion of the required 10-day notification.
Seconded by Councillor Wilbur. Should be noted too, just for people watching this, even though it is under Mr. Trent Lindbergh, who is going to be the basically the foreman overseeing and doing this project. This is for down at the Fall Fairgrounds for a roof on the grandstands with the Exhibition Association. And I think we should, before we vote, congratulate or thank Ms. Connie Patterson and her entire board for all of their efforts, because in just a couple of short years, they've been successful in raising what they hope and feel is enough money to put a roof on the grandstands down at the city fairgrounds there. The process obviously is in the report because it is ours, the city's. It does have to come to council for approval. But as we've heard for many, many years, a roof down there is something that a lot of people have been looking for. So congratulations to that group for all of their volunteer efforts on getting to this milestone. So any other comments? So all those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. 7.8 is Report 12062 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development. And this is for a revised development permit application for the Upper Montney developments at 901 100A Avenue. Councillor Parslow.
I'd like to move the recommendation that report number ADM 12-046 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development, redevelopment permit application 12-05 for Upper Monthly Developments Limited be received. Further, the staff be authorized to issue revised development permit 12-05 to Upper Monthly Developments Limited for the construction of a 48-unit, 12,500 square foot apartment building as phase 2 of 3 of an apartment complex located at 901 100A Avenue, upon receipt of the required financial security in the amount of $50,000.
Okay, and seconded by Councillor Kenny. Any questions or discussion? Jim?
Just for, to call to your attention, the reason that this is a revised development permit application is now you're making a condition of the application that they fix up the property that you had the individual complained that their property had been damaged in the original construction. So now it's a condition of the permit that they must repair that.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so seeing nothing else, bless you. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And it's carried. So on that, I'm going to jump back to 6.3. We have a delegation in attendance for a proclamation, and so I'll just read that out and then invite you to come forward. Hey, then you turn on your camera before you come forward, though. So whereas Astral Media, CJDC Radio, and TV actively serve the community and continue to work with the Dawson Creek Hospital Foundation to help provide the best quality care for the children and citizens of Dawson Creek, British Columbia, and the surrounding area. And whereas, as a result of the community spirit and generosity of everyone that contributes to the annual Have a Heart Radiothon, the Dawson Creek and District Hospital Foundation has purchased numerous pieces of vital equipment since its inception in 1992. And whereas these items are desperately needed to help relieve the stress and trauma currently experienced by children of the Peace region. And whereas the 9th annual Have a Heart Radiothon is taking place from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on April 26th, and this year's goal is to purchase 2 NST machines and a pediatric chair. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim the week of April 23rd to 27th as Have a Heart Radiothon Week in Dawson Creek. And please come forward.
Thank you very much. Andy, nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
You bet.
Right over here. I'll let you have the proclamation, and I'll give you a few minutes because it's an exciting time of year again.
Yeah. I'll start off. This is my first one. I'm from Dawson Creek. I haven't lived here though for about 14 years, but I did graduate South Peace, a South Peace grad, and I've been working at CJDC. I'm the new morning guy. I've been there about 2 months, I would say. And we're very looking forward to this. They kind of talked this up quite a bit. It's a big fundraiser, obviously, for a great cause. Working with Jeremy and Christina and the fine people at the Dawson Creek District Hospital. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a long day, but obviously it's a great cause. Looking to help out the maternity ward. They're going through some renovations right now. Much needed. It's going to be good. And I mean, all the pieces of machinery, Jeremy will probably get into it a little bit more, but I've kind of researched them a little bit, but it's basically going to make the whole labor process much more safe, much more comfortable for expecting mothers and stuff. So I'm excited to be on board. Looking forward to being down at the co-op for 12 hours on Thursday. It's going to be a long day, lots of coffee as per usual, but yeah, looking forward to it.
It's going to be interesting this year because usually the radio host tests out the machines that are there, and so I'm wondering this time you probably won't.
Maybe if we could turn back the clocks 34 years.
Maybe the pediatric chair we might be able to fit you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to get any demo models, nor would they, I think, be really appropriate for the thing. But
not in this case.
yeah, it's the 2 NST machines are for maternity. They're non-invasive diagnostic devices for expecting mothers that allows them mobility limits. The hospital currently doesn't have any, or has never had any, so it'd be completely new equipment, not a replacement. And it's the kind of thing without community support, we just won't get it because of the finite amount of healthcare dollars. There's always some things you can't get, and the pediatric chair is actually for diagnostic imaging. It's give the professionals down there an X-ray and MRI a tool to help them get more accurate and timely images of toddlers and youngins who tend to move around and squirm a lot when you need to get an X-ray. So it's a big thing. I'm not a clinician by any stretch of the imagination. I usually just get this from doctors. I share an eye in the hallway. So if I messed up, we might have some doctors stop by the radiothon to correct me. But it's a great 12
With a
hours.
donation.
Yes, hopefully, ideally with a donation. But if not, just come down and say hi anyway. If you're not able to make a donation, we'd love to speak with you anyway. And it's it's a long 12 hours, but it's a great deal of fun. It's really emotional, and yeah. Everybody comes down to say hi, and we got
Lots of stuff too.
the change drop-off, change can change a life. We have the drive-through, we have silent auctions,
auction,
we have, and obviously my board of directors throughout the day dreams up a bunch of things to do to me and Andy and whoever else they're willing to auction off for various
There's some
questionable tasks. So,
I want to thank Astral Media and CJDC and you guys as well, because, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the largest community fundraisers of the year for the Dawson Creek.
Yeah,
Gospel
it is
Foundation.
definitely, and especially with respect to it draws from all aspects of the community. It's not, strictly private enterprise or community organizations or anything, but it's, everyone, individuals, businesses, community organizations come down. And yeah, so in that sense, it's really, in addition to it being, the amount raised is hopefully big. It's also great to see it come from all aspects of the community.
And it's a great opportunity for people in the community, obviously, to give back. And whether you plan on having children or not, it's something we need to.
Everybody needs a hospital, and healthy children have a lot more likelihood of growing up to be healthy adults. If we all have a stake in healthy families. So even I don't have kids, but it's nice to know that they're taken care of and that the tools on hand to let the great professionals at the hospital do their work to the best of their ability.
Excellent. Anything from council? Aside from those that are around, might pop down and say hi.
Yeah, by all means.
Sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks again.
Next recess.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Sorry.
Thanks for that. So we'll move back to where we were in the regular agenda. And we have 7.9, which is Report 12063 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development. This is for Development Variance Permit Application for the UFA Cooperative at 401 Highway 2. Councillor Kenny.
I'll move the recommendation regarding the development variance permit application 401 Highway 2 UFA Cooperative Limited be received, and further that staff be directed to proceed with the required notification process for development variance permit 1202.
Thank you. Councillor Schumann seconding. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Or opposed? And it's carried. 710 is Report 12059 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding development permit application for KHB Holdings at 301 115th Avenue. Councillor Schumann. Or sorry, Kenny.
Oh.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Councillor
go
Kenny.
ahead.
Okay, Schumann.
Who, me?
Yeah, sorry.
I was just, scratching.
Scratching
my
your
head.
head.
Anyways, I'd be
Would you like
happy
to
to
move
make, move the report number ADM 12059 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development, read the development permit application 1208 for KHB Holding Limited be received. Further, that council be directed to proceed with the required notification process for development permit 1208 and authorized to issue development permit 1208 to KHB Holding Limited for the development of a 2,160 square foot shop at 301 115th Avenue upon successful completion of the required 10-day notification period and receipt of the required financial security in the amount of $5,000.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot. Seconded by Councillor McFadden. Any comments? Before Jim says it then, I will say, even though we have a few more things here, that again, being early in the year, every meeting we're bringing these development permits are coming forward for growth in the community. We're seeing no end in sight right now, and it's great to see that all these businesses coming to town choosing Dawson Creek to set up, to make their home, to bring people into our community for jobs, for taxes, for everything. It's great to see this continuing to take place. It's different than the reverse of what most communities are facing right now, so we should be very lucky what we're dealing with. So all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. 711 is 12068 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development, and this is for development, for the strata conversion of an existing duplex at 1108 117th Avenue. Councillor McFadden.
I'll move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Kenny. Any discussion? Questions? No? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. 712 is 12069 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development, and this is for the bulk water request at 33 Vic Turner Road. Councillor Parslow.
I'd like to move the recommendation that report ADM 12-069 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development be received. Further, the Council approves the bulk water connection for 33 Vic Turner Road, pending the submission of a connection and metering plan from a qualified mechanical engineer. Further, the Council directs staff to enter into a bulk water connection agreement with Swamp Donkey Oilfield Services Limited.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Kenny. Questions? Councillor Malcolmson.
We're not concerned, just about pressure. Well, I'm not, concerned just about pressure. The engineers can vouch for that. But two questions that I have is just what effects will this have on our supply, and will we be able to, shut them off actually during, I don't know, how can we make sure that they're going to be not using during the peak hours, and can we hold these engineers to their words about the pressure?
So if you remember, Council, before we would approve this, we asked them to have an engineer's report to come back to say, will it affect our volume or pressure? That's why there's an engineer's report now saying, no, it won't, provided they don't draw at the peak times and they're willing to put the process in. But to avoid that, Jim?
Through your worship, on the answer to the first question, every new use, every house that's connected, every apartment building that's built, certainly any use of potable water for fracking, as this application is, adds to the demand on your system. And your system is so far accommodating that, and you have future plans, particularly around the reservoir construction, to increase those capacities. In terms of shut-off, it is, we're confident that it is possible for a mechanical engineer to develop a plan for a meter installation that will be automatic, that when the pressure reaches a certain level, it simply won't allow any to be drawn through the system. And the owners are accepting of having that limitation on them. But it also brings the bigger point of a shut-off of industry. When we had significant drought conditions in the past, this industry is one of the industries that had to be shut off. And we had extraordinary cooperation the last time that happened. We had it from the customers, the Shells and Encanas and others in the Talismans, the others that are doing the drilling. Cooperated, but so did the local service companies. At that time, Total Energy, Enermax. We had actually had to do no enforcement action at all. It was all done voluntarily.
Councillor McFadden.
This is potable water for fracking?
Yes, it's a similar business then to what Enermax, what Mr. Shane Carlson is doing, those companies.
Well, I thought we were all through giving people permits for potable water for fracking.
And that's why this came to council originally. We said
Yeah,
that we would allow, before we would approve it, we'd want to see an engineer's report to make sure it wouldn't do, basically suck the line dry of that.
Through your worship, if you canvass the background information in the report, council's original aspiration was that your reclaimed water facility would take all the pressure off your system. You wouldn't require any longer additional potable water use. The use has grown since that time, and at the time that those expectations were developed, there was an incomplete understanding of peak demand time. So your existing resolution is that you won't cut off anybody until there is an alternative, but your aspiration going forward is everybody's on the alternative. The reclamation plant by itself is not going to accomplish that for you. The need is greater than the reclamation plant will produce. And faced with that reality, what you have said since is if it is technically possible, if the physical location of the proposed operation allows it without compromising water pressure, you will allow it. Now, some places that's been impossible. There was an application on 8th Street. It was impossible. The system simply couldn't accommodate it in that location. This one, when you first got it, it wasn't clear to us whether it could accommodate it. The engineer's report we now have in hand says you can with some imposed limitations. And so that's why the recommendation's in front of you.
And if I understand through that report, then, Jim, you don't need direction from council, but staff is going to contact Mr. Carlson to see if he's still interested in pursuing the option?
Because Mr. Carlson's deal was made when you believed the Reclamation Center would provide all that was required, you put actual time limitations on Mr. Carlson and then extended them. But it is our belief, staff-wise, that you wouldn't wish to authorize someone to build a new facility at the same time you contemplated cutting off an existing facility. So we assume that if it is technically possible for Mr. Carlson's operation to continue into the future, that you would be wishing to allow that if he wishes to have it happen.
Yeah. And just to your point about the water reclamation, as we go through, as we understand a bit more, I think what's important to note, though, is approximately 4,500, 5,000 cubes of water a day that used to not get used will be now out of surface or potable water being used for fracking because of this reclamation project. I mean, that is a huge success. It's unfortunate it's not going to meet the entire demands, but I think it still needs to be noted that that's 5,000 cubes less needed.
And your other, the industry is actively seeking alternatives to the use of fresh water in any kind, whether it's treated to be potable or otherwise. And so the reclaimed water is an aspect of that. The on-site reclamation of frack water is a part of that. The liquid nitrogen plants are a part of that. The saline water wells are a part of that. The industry going forward is attempting to find these alternatives. Your council's delicate balance has always been between job creation and preservation of your potable water, but you have strategies around increasing your capacity for water. On a staff level, we can't recommend that you're at that limit yet. In this case of this particular application, it appears to be technically possible to accommodate their use.
Okay, I got Councillor Parslow, then Wilbur, then Schumann.
I did a fair amount of homework on this particular topic, and Jim has done an excellent job of sort of summarizing everything, and that's why I'm comfortable with this this matter. This is a local business, generates jobs. I know there's other issues, but things are being worked at, and we do have, I was absolutely sure of safeguards we have for the community, so I'm enthusiastically in favor of this in light of all that Jim has said.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilbur.
I appreciate Jim's information too, and I do agree with Charlie. I sit on a bit of side of caution that this is almost Pandora's box. Who else gets to come forward, put a permit through, have engineering specs, and say, well, we're going to monitor it, but we're going to hook up to our potable water. So I'm really sitting on the fence here at the moment, because that does cause me concern. Where do we draw the line? I mean, we want to help business. Our reclaim plant's helping reduce our use, but I'm just wondering, are we opening a gateway here for other applications?
Yeah, well, actually, I could probably comment to that before I go to Councillor Schumann. Yes and no. It's almost a first through the door approach, you almost want to say, because eventually, you're right, we are getting close. But with these engineers' reports, what's going to happen is you get 1 or 2 or 0 more, I have no idea, are going to come forward, and the engineer's report is going to say, because of that draw, they can't recommend that it would work, which means council would have to make the tough decision probably of turning down that facility being built in the community. I think that's why it's important we go through the due diligence of having professional engineers give us that advice, because, yeah, will it bring more forward? I mean, these people are willing to spend millions of dollars and employ dozens, if not hundreds of people, like we've seen in some of these jobs doing this work. And as was said, that's the delicate balance of allowing it. But your point is very well taken, that we are getting close to where we're going to have to, the engineers' reports are probably going to say no more. Councillor Schumann.
Yeah, I've got a report from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development in front of me for our PAL that's coming up. And I'm looking at the flows for March, and I'm looking at commercial flow water sales 1, commercial flow water sales 2. Those are currently water sales that are going to industry. The commercial water sales, is that industry?
Kevin's not here.
Through you to
Through your
stop.
worship, we're just going to pull that up. But yeah, the commercial flow sales, which are the city-owned sales facility, are, yes, they're commercial, which most of those would be correct industry.
And am I correct in understanding that when the water reclamation facility comes online, that commercial flow water sales 1 and commercial flow water sales 2 and maybe even 3, are they going offline? Like, how's that going to work? Will those commercial haulers be directed to the reclamation center?
Anyone for
to the
non-potable
facility?
use is the direction that council's given, yes.
Right. So we will see a substantial decrease then, like from 9,261 meters squared, 5,961.
Yeah.
We will see that greatly reduce.
Well, we know there's lots of commercial haulers that haul for potable reasons too, but I'm not sure from a staff level.
Through your worship, our expectation is that it'll be a one-for-one replacement. What we can't predict is the growth in the industry. At gas prices the way they are now, it's remarkable there is any growth in the industry, let alone people willing, as your development permit indicates, to put significant capital investments into it. Yet, Air Liquide is putting a $65 million investment into it. The expectation in the industry is definitely that the activity is going to continue. If that activity continues to grow, then yes, it is possible that people are going to be in front of us asking for the reinstallation, for instance, of one of those hauling stations. And then you will have another decision to make. All told, it is not an unusual circumstance throughout the province for a significant part of the municipality's water to go towards industrial purposes. It's normal in a mine or a mill that happens. It's been abnormal in your history, so you don't really have the structures in place for that yet. You have a plan to get them in place, but that plan takes significant money. One of the ways that significant money is being accumulated is the surcharge on these users. So the 5-year financial plan says at the end of that plan, you're going to have your share, basically, of a one-third project to build the reservoir that would provide you with surplus. The use, we continue to be amazed by the continuing demand and by the increase in that demand. And at some point, we won't be able to accommodate it. We're just saying to you that you're not at that point yet.
Yeah. Do you have one more follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, so I'm looking at Enermax's flows for March, and they're 17,589 meters squared, cubic meters, sorry. Is that what we anticipate this would be, to the same sort of amounts?
Through your worship, in discussions with the proponent, yeah, that's kind of what we're hearing, is it's somewhere in that neighborhood of use.
That's what we asked the engineer to look at.
Yeah.
That 17,000
We use that as a comparison.
sort of number?
Yeah. Okay, so I have Councillor Malkinson.
Well, I don't know. I'd just like to be more knowledgeable about the city's water schedule and supply. It's we always cut off the taps during the summer when to all the businesses around town when supply gets low. This could quicken that schedule.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll just correct you. We don't always. We've had to do it once.
No, we do. Sorry, we have in the past. Sorry, but I'm just saying if it ever comes to that, this can contribute to that. Can speed along the schedule, and that's what I'm not knowledgeable of, and that's what I'd like to have knowledge of before I vote in support of it.
Okay, Councillor Parslow.
These various companies are in competition with each other
Yes.
as well, and so in discussing this thing with people in the industry this weekend, I came to the conclusion that with this other commercial outlet, there will be, through free enterprise competition, there will be some reduction to the other people because they'll lose business to this other. That's so. I don't know how we would guess how much business they would gain, but I know you're talking about capacity, but because there's several companies and there will be some reduction, some customers will go somewhere else and so on. But a very good point was made, about what the city's plans are, and I asked Shelley before the meeting began, just to prime my memory. The city makes a lot of money here and is putting a lot of that money into reserve funds to deal with water issues. I think you said $5.5 million in commercial sales?
Total sales.
Total sales. And we're putting about 3.08 million into capital reserve?
Capital investment and reserves for 2012.
Or dealing with. So it's being used to help the city deal with, and then there's some money which just goes into general usage. Right?
That's right. But it should be noted on that, it's because of, as Jim mentioned, industry pays a tariff and pays substantially more. A lot of people in the community don't realize that, but we charge them substantially more for the water than we do for a residential person. So that's where we take the extra money from that tariff to go into the funds that you're talking about.
Yeah, and the last point I made is always in my mind as well with this, as you've so ably stated, all this development is really improving our tax base. And I imagine a building such as this will probably generate about $50,000 worth of tax to the city.
Depends on the value of it.
Yeah,
and
but
the
just
tax
looking
rate
at the
of
size, dimensions, and other buildings,
Yeah.
about 50,000.
But I take it one step further. How many jobs is it creating? Where
As
people
well,
are going to move
sure.
to town, where they're going to move into houses, and they're paying taxes and raising their families
Yeah.
here. I mean, this is a huge deal for a community. Again, what I said earlier, almost every other community in BC would kill to have the problems we're having here right now of trying to fit all this in. One thing before I call the question I just wanted to mention was we do have a water restrictions bylaw, going to what Councillor Malkinson was talking about. 2 years ago, what's happened is basically when the province turned around and cut our permits because there was no water in the Kaskatna, is when we went to the point where we went to the conservation bylaw and said we had to invoke stage 2, 3, and 4. We have right now a bylaw that says water conservation bylaw for stage 1, which is actually not a restriction. It's more of a conservation, just stating from a certain date to a certain date, this is when you can water. And that has nothing to do with our supply, whether we have lots or whether we have, not as much. That's a different situation. Where we've had to go to other stages is dependent on the amount of water that's coming out of the river, amount of water in the storage, the draw in the system as well. So we do have some safeguards in place, Councillor, through that, but they can always be tweaked as well. Jim?
Through your worship, even stage 1 does have to do with how scarce a resource the water is. It's not put on, stage 1 is not enacted, and stage 1 is automatic for you.
Yes.
But it is enacted so that it's intended to limit the amount of water that is poured on grass, for instance. And that's because council has made a decision that in dealing with that scarce resource, drinking it is more important than pouring it on grass, but also creating jobs with it is more important than pouring it on grass. So yes, it is absolutely true. We are asking residents to water only on even and odd days, partly so that we can approve development permits like this that create jobs. Council could make a different decision and decide that green grass was more important than jobs, but you haven't. You've made the different decision. You made the decision jobs are more important than green grass.
Okay, thanks for that. So I don't think there's anything else. We'll call the question. So all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Councillor Malkinson. That is carried. So now we move to bylaws. We have 8.1 as the official community plan amendment bylaw 4133-2012 for consideration of third reading and adoption. Councillor Schumann, seconded by Councillor Kenny. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It's carried. And 8.2 is zoning amendment bylaw. And by the way, these are from consultation hearing this morning, in case people are wondering, for consideration of third reading and adoption. Councillor Parslow and Councillor Wilbur. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. So that takes us to mayor's business. First item that's on there, it's the reappointment for the South Peace Economic Development Commission as an alternate. Presently, we have Councillor Kenny on there, but with her role at Community Futures, puts us in a bit of a conflict with her having being the alternate. And the reason why that's come up is I'm leaving for Victoria. There's a meeting tomorrow, and I'll be in Victoria, and we'll miss the meeting. And then that's when we found out that probably not the best to have Councillor Kenny on there. So I've asked Councillor Schumann to be the alternate there if council will approve that. So I'll make that motion. So Councillor McFadden. And this is for the alternate then for the commission. And if you can make it tomorrow, that'd be great. Councillor Kenny has the information. So all those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Okay, thank you. Yes, because I do leave first thing tomorrow morning. I'm in Victoria for the week. Right. Oh, sorry, did you want to speak to that? Councillor Kenny?
No, but in regards to the South Peace Economic Development Commission, can I bring something up?
Sure.
Yeah. With the South Peace Economic Development Commission, there's the advisory committee as well as the commissioners when the commission was first formed.
Yes.
And we did have, when we had our economic development person here, that person sat on the advisory committee. The advisory committee is not a very labor-intensive committee. And each community has a staff member that sits on the advisory committee. And the city of Dawson Creek is the only community that does not have someone sitting on that level. I realized that when the economic development position was removed, like I understand why that position was removed, but I still believe that we need to have someone sitting on the advisory committee. It's not labor intensive. Fred Banham is the CAO with the Peace River Regional District. He is the chair of the advisory committee. And really what it is it's a telephone conversation or an email. It may mean 4 meetings a year. And in total, I would estimate that would take about 4 hours out of your whole work year to sit on the advisory committee for the South Peace Economic Development Commission.
So let me just ask a question, because I sit on the commission.
Yes.
So, but I cannot sit on the advisory board as an elected official?
No,
it kind of seems redundant. I'd be making a motion to bring to myself to vote on.
No.
Yeah.
It should be. There's no politicians on the advisory committee. It's staff, and so like Poos Koopy, their past CAO was, and their new CAO, I guess, will be on that advisory committee. Chetwynd, they have an EDO. Tumbler Ridge has an EDO, and then the representatives. We don't have representatives from the areas.
So to be blunt, are you making a motion that we look at doing that?
Yes, I am. I wanted to put it out there, and so I would like to make a motion that we have a staff member sit on the advisory committee for the South Peace Economic Development Commission.
Okay, so before we get into further discussion, we'll second it. Councillor Wilbur and Councillor Schumann, you have a question.
Yeah, I'm just through you to Councillor Kenny. Which one of our staff would best be, like, what do we decide?
I would hope that's Jim's choice. But,
So we'd leave that up to Jim.
Yeah, okay.
So can I ask that question of Jim? Not necessarily put you on the spot of picking a person, but my only fear is, and I totally appreciate where Councillor Kenny's coming from if we're the only ones not, we eliminated a position of somebody who was doing all of these things for us, organizing events, sitting on these boards. And I know it's only 4 hours, but 4 hours adds up when you start adding all these things up. Just want to make sure from your end, you're comfortable with this and see a way of making it happen.
Well, through your worship, I would expect it's more than 4 hours, because if all you do is sit at the meeting, don't prepare for that meeting, don't contribute at that meeting, and don't take any tasks out of that meeting, where's the point of being at that meeting? If these are just meet and eats, why send anybody? So I'm assuming there's actually a role. There's information to gather, that there is responses to information to provide, that sort of thing. In-house, the expertise is no longer here. Chetwynd has an EDO, Tumbler Ridge has an EDO, Dawson Creek does not have an EDO except yourself. Can I accommodate this? I'll find myself or someone else to sit there, if so directed by council.
Councillor Kenny?
The South Peace Economic Development Commission has a coordinator that does the research and does the work for the South Peace Economic Development Commission. And so it's just, it is another level. It is not labor intensive. It's maybe just a take of, it's the way the committee was set up, an advisory role. I don't know what I can say here. You know, it's representation from the city of Dawson Creek, and I just think that it's bad that we don't have someone sitting there on the advisory committee.
Okay, so any other comments? Right now it's to turn it over to Jim to try to find a staff person to be involved on that committee. Okay, any other questions then? No. So all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Are you
Not
in favor?
opposed, not opposed.
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
in favor, sorry.
So it's carried then.
I felt your eyes on me, sorry. What?
I was just waiting because your hand hasn't been going up. I was just waiting to see
I'm
what
sorry,
it was.
I apologize, Your Worship.
Continuing on mayor's business then, as I said, I am heading to NDI meetings. I'll be gone in Victoria for the week. For those, meeting with both the Liberal and the NDP caucuses, discussing NDI issues. For council, for most of you, you're probably aware, I ended up in Vancouver last week. I've been invited to be municipal representative by the province on the Prime Court Board. That's the police records information management system. So that's all of the computer systems and police record systems in the province of BC. They have an independent body appointed through the province to be in charge of that group. So I think I'm very excited to be on that board. My first meeting was very intense. It was enjoyable, but there's definitely a lot to learn there with the RCMP. A couple of things I wanted to talk about the multiplex. The email came across this morning, another announcement, Mamma Mia, for those who didn't see it. Well, it sounds like we're getting a Broadway show coming to the multiplex. Something a little different, and exciting to hear about that. Tickets go on sale here in about a month. And I also attended the Johnny Reid concert last week, which was an amazing show. I stood in line for 2 hours to make sure I got front row tickets, and it was well worth it to a sold-out show. One thing that I found interesting at the very beginning when they were talking was when they came out and said, you know, how many people are from out of town? And the place just erupted. And how many people from Dawson Creek? And you kind of heard this. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jim, because we were getting some information on those exact numbers just for curiosity. So, Jim.
Well, through your worship, many of you received an email from me over the weekend. There's curiosity in the community about some of the financials around each show. So to start off with, just for the information of everyone, we enter contractual obligations to preserve a lot of that information in confidence for a variety of reasons. However, certainly council is entitled to know that, and I think you might want to invite Ryan to attend at your next closed meeting to go over sort of the conditions under which acts are booked, what the industry is like in that regard, and to answer your specific questions about the Johnny Reid concert. So that's one thing I'm suggesting you make that motion. But in terms of the origin of bums in the seats, after every concert a report is run that identifies every ticket that was purchased by credit card, whether that was online, whether that was over the phone, whether that was lined up at the center. Doesn't capture people lining up at the center and purchasing for cash. But if you look at the Johnny Reid concert, 730 tickets were purchased from Dawson Creek, but 1,312 were purchased in that fashion from Alberta, and almost 1,200 from other BC locations. I mean, the obvious ones, Fort St. John at 553 is a big number, 445 from Grand Prairie, but 138 from Beaver Lodge, and 2 from Barhead, and just an enormous range.
Some from the States, you were saying?
Well, when you look at the farthest away that purchased in that fashion, 12 from Paradise, Newfoundland, 6 from Omaha, Nebraska, 8 from Inverness, Illinois, 2 from Yellowknife. These are, many of these will be
Fan club.
There'll be fan club purchases, people who actually travel with Johnny Reed to his shows. But just in terms of the economic development model of the multiplex, I think if you talk to the local restaurateurs, you'll know that their experience was the same as the numbers. There was literally 2,000, 2,500 people from out of town looking for a place to eat that night, and it was a zoo at those restaurants.
Not to mention the McDonald's drive-through and Tim Hortons drive-through after the concert, everybody stocking up for their drives back to their respective cities. Councillor McFadden.
Just a quick question. Jim mentioned that a lot of the information about the financing out there is confidential.
Yes.
Why would it be confidential if it's...
Well, I'll give you an example. When I used to tour, I didn't like other bands knowing what I was making. It's not
No, but
public knowledge.
no, I understand that. But if it's if the center, the Encana Center makes $500,000 at a concert, why would that not be public information? I don't care how much you pay the band.
Through your worship, the reasons for that is if everything is given as public information in an aggregated fashion, it's impossible to pick out how any one show did. But how any one show does is a function of the deal that was in place. How much did the artist get? How much did the promoter get? How much did the center get? Those deals themselves are what is confidential. Promoters don't like other promoters to know what they made or what kind of deal they did. Artists don't like other artists to know what kind of deal they did or didn't do. And venues don't like other venues to know what kind of deal they did or didn't do. So that's, in the industry, you sign these confidentiality agreements, and that's why you don't see that. None of you here have seen a press release saying Rogers Center made X, because you can't book X unless you're willing to respect that confidentiality.
Yeah. The only thing we talk about is the bottom line year end or in the budget.
Yeah, well, that's
Each
what we talk
individual
about in an open meeting. In a closed meeting, you're entitled to all of that information to aid your decision making, but you can't release it to the curious, basically.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Parslow?
It was Jim mentioned that we should perhaps invite Ryan to a meeting. I would like us to do that. But I'd like to receive a copy of the contract the city has with Global Spectrum so I can study it ahead of time.
Sure. I think that's even an open contract.
I think it may well be.
It's on the website.
It's on the website. It's an
Oh,
open
just
document.
I'd like a hard
Yeah.
copy.
Anybody in the community can look at that.
Yeah, I like hard copies of contracts. So I can prepare for that. But I don't want personally to know specific shows because then when people ask me, I can say I don't know and can answer them truthfully. So, but the general principles by which shows are engaged and is outlined in Jim's email, I think is good for the public to know.
That's right. Well, council's never asked before just for those reasons.
Yeah, right.
It really doesn't matter what each show makes. We're looking at overall in a year, but
Right.
I mean, again, if you want.
But I'm wondering, if that meeting with Ryan would be part of when we talk about the business plan for the Encounter Event Centre, or should it be a separate meeting?
Well, it can certainly be part of those discussions, but if there is a more pressing need, we could certainly bring him in at the next meeting.
And one final comment in going through ticket sales stuff, just to add to Jim's report, when you have people from Newfoundland, generally they are people who are often working here, but that's where they're, so.
Yeah.
Just some of the statistics look kind of wow, we've got all these people from the Maritimes, but they're working here.
Yeah. Well, it's possible. You know, the guy's working here and he phoned his wife back home saying, hurry up and buy me 2 tickets.
What was that other one? There was another address that was a mystery, and we found out that it was there were so many people coming from Hythe. Was it because of the
Good Fair?
Good Fair, from Good Fair, and that's because of Kelly Lake
Yes.
and the First Nations Reserve.
Yeah. We were wondering why 100 people were coming from a community of 20. Yeah. Okay, no other comments then? There's no official motion yet though, but
Yeah, you
we
need a
want
motion to bring
to-
Ryan into the closed.
So moved.
for the next closed meeting, or are you talking what's up to council? Like,
Yeah, Ryan will be here at the open meeting the next time to deliver the annual report, and at that time, he can be asked for the things that are public information, like, you know, the range of options when you're booking an act. That can all be in the public.
okay.
To talk about specific contracts, that would have to be in the.
So Councillor Parsons making the motion that next meeting he stays for the closed.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my schedule here. This is in May,
May 7th.
May the 7th.
The Monday after we get back from.
Good, May the 7th, sure.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Wilbur. All those in favor? Opposed, and it's carried. So let's move on. Nothing else under mayor's business for me to talk about at this time. A few things in the works, hopefully for next meeting. So we'll move on to the diary. Jim, 10-1, Calvin Cook Center.
I'll just turn that over to Greg, your worship.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let's change things up and let's talk about the reclaimed water plant since it was a big topic of discussion. I'm happy to announce that we've started commissioning on it. And we have a estimated due date to go live delivering water to Shell on May the 4th. So at your next meeting, I should be able to report that that has been done. Of course, it's spring breakup. They'll be using this time to fill their reservoirs out in Groundbirch. The rest of the project, the truck fill station, landscaping, etc., is due to be completed on May 21st. So we are coming to the end of this project. Calvin Cook Center, we had an interesting week with the Calvin Cook Center. For some reason, we got through all of spring breakup with no problems, and then we had the snowfall and we started getting leaks in the basement, which was awesome. So we had Brad Shipton from Force Engineer go down there, and Adil Jessa from MHPM came up and had a look at it as well. Found out where the leaks were coming from. One of them was from a pipe that was discovered when we did demolition. And it's very close to the top, so it's quite an easy repair. It'd be a dig down, fill in, patch over kind of a repair. Another one had been previously identified and was part of the scope of work. They hadn't got to it because it hadn't been an issue, but now they'll be getting to it. There's a product on the market called Zypex, which will be applied to it, and that seals all the cracks on concrete and keeps the water away. Council may be aware that in our initial planning, we knowing that we couldn't get in between the buildings on the south side, we put an interior weeping tile, and on the south side, we dug down on the north side, did a bunch of repairs to the concrete, and also installed some weeping tile on the north side as well. The east side doesn't seem to be an issue because of the sidewalk, but the west side, because it's due to be paved over but hasn't yet turned out to be where we had our issues. But we should be able to get that repaired without any loss of time and without a huge impact on the budget. We'll be talking a few thousand rather than a few tens of thousands. Also in the basement, we've started on steel stud work. And the floor in the basement has been poured and leveled. It was held up because guess what? We ran out of steel mesh in town, and it had to be brought in from elsewhere because I guess there's a lot of concrete work going on in the area. The stage structure upstairs has been framed up. We've got ongoing work installing sprinkler lines. And we'll be starting drywall and insulation on the top floor this week. All the heat ducts and plenums on the main floor are complete. We have over 20 plumbers and heating people inside the building working right now. So they're going gangbusters. Electrical rough-in continues. And hopefully we'll finally this week be complete the final mold remediation on that interior stairway. And that will be done. And when we had the team up here a while back, we did a mock-up of the sign that will go outside, and it worked very well and looked really good. And it is currently being assembled and will be trucked up here and put together. And the neat thing about it is that it can be programmed to do a variety of waves and lights and different colors, and it'll be quite the attraction. But anyway, things are going well, despite that little bit of a setback that had me somewhat worried. But everybody's in there and they're working hard, and things are being accomplished.
Good, thanks. I can't remember if I told Council or not. When I was down in Texas a couple of weeks ago presenting there, met with the CEO of Shell, and when he got up and did his speech, it was like 2,000 delegates there, and he got up and did his speech about Shell and where they're looking for the next year. And one of the things that he said that Shell was highlighting as one of their top projects in the world was the water reclamation plant in a small northern town of British Columbia called Dawson Creek. So that was pretty interesting when they were talking on a world scale and identifying this as one of their highlighted projects as being something that they were bragging about to the other companies in the industry. So can't remember if I shared that or not, but that was pretty exciting to be there and to be part of that. Councillor Parslow.
Questions about the water leak in the basement of the Calvin Cook Centre. That's where the archives are being stored, isn't it? Is that going to be as I understand, I have never been in the building yet, but the basement is the location for the archives?
The archives are in the basement. They're on the south side. The leak I described that was the result of the pipe that was discovered is in the archive section. That's the one I said where it's probably just going to be a simple dig down because it's only a couple feet deep, clean up, repair. The other major leak is actually in where the boilers are going to be. So not a huge issue really, because we have all the mechanical equipment on housekeeping pads. It's just that you don't want water coming in. But the archives, they only had the one area that was leaking.
Yeah, the question I was leading to is there humidity control in the archives section? Or?
Yes, there will be. Every room actually has its own individual controls.
Okay.
Any further questions? Councillor Malkinson?
What percent are we done? Any ballpark?
It's actually hard to say because we get the monthly drawdowns, and by the time I report to you guys, almost a month has gone by. So
let's just say instead of worrying about percent being done, the contractor is saying that everything looks good to still meet the target date to hand the keys over to us on August 2nd.
August 2nd.
Yeah,
that
we've actually brought that up in the last 3 meetings, and he's sticking to his time. So he's knows what he's doing. I hope he's right.
So nothing else on those. Thanks, Greg. So we'll move to 11.1. Someone to move the consent calendar. Councillor Schumann, Councillor Kenny. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Jim, strategic priorities. A few things to check off.
No, I wouldn't check them off yet. I'll do that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Nothing new on this.
Okay. Question and answer period. I don't believe anyone's signed up. Brenda?
No one has signed up.
Okay, so we'll look to the media at this time. Anything in this meeting on the record? Okay. So on that, then how about we take a 5-minute recess? We have committee of the whole, so we have everybody coming forward to give the monthly updates. So we'll take a 5-minute break. We get started here?
Yeah.
So we're going to call the meeting back to order. We'll go to committee of the whole, and with council's indulgence, I'll actually skip over the first one. And we do have some people in attendance actually for the committee of the whole. So we'll start at 15:02 with the staff, with Sergeant Scott West in attendance to give us a monthly update. Good morning, Sergeant.
Morning.
Thanks again for coming in.
You're welcome.
As per the document that I'd given you guys earlier in the week, we've seen our detachment staffed up to its maximum staffing level, with a few vacancies with respect to maternity and paternity leaves. The Provincial Highway Patrol and Ursu unit has now completed filling the position of the new NCO. I see that they have in our particular area, which is then supervised out of Fort St. John by the sergeant there. So we've got a new corporal in town on the traffic unit. We're preparing for some transfers out of our own detachment and transfers in. As you know, our fiscal year ended March 31st, so this is our busy time of the year when we see a flurry of traffic in and out of the detachment, with new members coming in and members who are being transferred out, subsequently transferred out. We're receiving other postings. Our office space renovations continue. There's been a couple of smaller jobs done in the last little while, but the largest job being the cell block renovations, fully complete. From our perspective, it's meeting all of our needs, and we haven't noticed any glitches. Behind the scenes, there may be a couple that the wiring guys are taking care of, but they're behind the walls, so I don't notice those. Other than that, everything's been up to snuff and is performing the way it should. With respect to our community programs, we've undertaken the DARE program and revitalized that within the community, and we were able to provide the DARE program to 3 of the 4 of the elementary schools that were wanting that particular program this past year, which has been difficult given their employment situation, but nonetheless, between the teachers and the RCMP officers, they've managed to persevere. Some of the highlights within the detachment over the past months that we've been keeping council and the mayor up to date on have been homicide from late last year, which is nearing the preliminary court phase. That would be the one that occurred in late last fall. There is still some investigation to continue with that, but that's nearing a court phase very quickly at this point. The other homicide that we had toward the beginning of this year in February, that investigation is continuing, but that one's nearing its conclusion with respect to some reports that the GIS investigators are awaiting before they can take any further action on that. With respect to our traffic enforcement, which I know is a priority for the community, I'm happy to report that our fatalities in the 2010-2011 reporting year for us have gone from 6 to 4 in this present reporting year, period, with the 2011-2012 reporting period, or fiscal year for us. So they've dropped by 2. With respect to that, we have seen an increase in the number of collisions within our area, but there's been more minor than they had in the past, obviously, because we've dropped in our fatalities. We did have the benefit of a tepid winter, however, to help us out in that respect, but our officers have been very active in the traffic side of things and writing ticket, paying attention to the intersections and those kinds of things. So our enforcement has remained consistent, or in fact stepped up. I'm happy to report as well that 5 of our members were named to Alexa's list as a result of their activities in taking impaired drivers off of our area roadways. I don't know that there's too many detachments of our size that can say 5 of their members have been on an Alexa's list in any one year. Given the fact that one of them is one of my corporals and a road supervisor, gives you an idea of the time that they're spending on the roads and focusing on impaired driving, which I believe is also contributing to a reduction in fatalities in our local area here. We've also got a seat on the Peace Traffic Advisory Committee. It's a committee that's being revitalized at this point in time because it lost a little bit of its attendance because of what happened last year, and the focus being on the floods rather than on the traffic and the roads in the area. They've got them fixed mostly now,
So they're back being able to focus on issues that they may have within the local area from the provincial perspective. We do have a seat on that, and I have our traffic coordinator attending a meeting this coming week with respect to that and getting everybody back to the table and communicating once again. Over the last month, we've been called to 671 calls for service in the city and rural areas combined. There were 14 incidents reported as assaults, 2 reported sex assaults, one which resulted in charges, and the other one which is still under investigation. There were 3 business break-and-enters and 3 residential break-and-enters within the month of March, which is a slight reduction considering that in the same reporting period in 2011 there were 7, so we're down a little bit there. 4 theft of vehicles reported, and 1 was led to charges or a diversionary process with respect to the person who was found doing that. I think you'll recall back in the fall we were up as high as 12 to 14 per month, so we've seen a reduction there as well through our proactive patrols. 26 disturbances, and we saw 110 prisoners lodged in our cells. So you'll notice there's some statistics attached to the back as usual, which will give you some numbers to attach to what we're up to. But again, with the impaired driving, there was 13 impaired driving charges laid in the month of March. We found that maybe there's been a little bit of an increase in the impaired driving side of things, because I don't think people expect, because the IRP legislation has been put on hold with respect to a fail, that we're not going to take any action. Well, it's been quite the opposite. Our members have been proceeding with a criminal charge rather than using the IRP legislation and the discretion that was offered there. So it's been straight criminal code cases from that perspective. And that would be kind of the state of the union from the RCMP's.
Good. Well, thanks again for coming and giving that update. The one I wanted to highlight, which don't know if it's the knock on wood, was the theft over 5,000 at 0, because for a while that's been one that I've been hearing, especially from the gas industry in the area, the amount of breaking enters into their property with theft over 5,000 was always an issue there. Things leaving their yards. So I'm hoping that that's only because nothing's happened and not that they're reluctant to report. But in either case, it's a great seeing that one way down there. So, and I know there's been a lot of work from your detachment on that, working with the industry. So thank you. So, anything from council? Not this time. Thanks for the update, then, Sergeant.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
15-3, we have our fire chief in attendance. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. It was supposed to snow last night because I put my deck furniture out. So usually that's what happens. I put my deck furniture out and then it snows.
Rain's a close second.
So the report, when I ran the report for the month end, we're almost, equal with what we had last year at the same time. So it's nothing too extraordinary to the end of last month. Now, last week we've been a little bit busy with grass fires, but that's our grass fire season. So hopefully this rain will slow it down a bit. Strategic priorities in our strategic priorities list. I have one of them is the fire service bylaw, and that's out for legal review right now. So that one is whenever it gets back. And our fire response plan program, that is underway now. It'll be a few years before it's completely done, but it's underway. Computer programs up and running and all that kind of stuff. So that's another one that's we can, I guess, scratch off the strategic priorities. The other thing I wanted to mention is we now have in our arenas and swimming pools public access external defibrillators, automatic external defibrillators. So we, any member of the public can now use those if they're trained for whatever purpose, well, for the proper purpose, I guess, not whatever purpose, but for the proper purpose. And the reason why I want to bring that up is because it's not usual in BC to have public access defibrillators. So I found last Chiefs meeting I was at, found a doctor that basically under contract with his doctor will assume the risk for us. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, very common in all of Alberta and other places, just BC.
Yes.
Because of your point of the doctor or somebody signing off, so.
Yeah.
Councillor Schumann, sorry?
Yeah, thanks, Shorty. So when you say public access, so it's out, available to someone, say there's an incident at the arenas, it's like somewhere where just anyone can get a hold of it, or?
Yes. And they're linked up, so as soon as you open the door, it sends an alarm so that the rest of the staff will be alerted to that something's going on, somebody's accessed the AEDs, so they can go and assist. So.
Any other questions from council? No? Jim?
I should just mention on a personnel note that firefighter Captain Hess is retiring. Firefighter Captain Hess was a high school classmate of mine. He's been at the city nearly as long as I have.
Oh, a long time.
There'll be a walking big party coming. The ads are out now for the replacement position.
Yeah, interviews start this week for that, actually. So.
Sorry, Councillor McFadden, you don't qualify. Yeah, I know.
Is it our local firefighters that apply for that position? Or?
We had several applicants, but yeah, we do have our auxiliaries that apply as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks very much for coming in, and I'm sure we'll have a couple of opportunities between now and the retirement date to congratulate Heinz.
I'm sure.
So we'll move to 15.4 is a report from the Director of Corporate Administration.
Morning.
Good morning.
With our department, communication has been a very active area lately. The tender recently was for our community mail-out, and that was awarded to Peace Photographic. So that'll continue on as a quarterly newsletter and any additional mail-outs that the city may need from time to time. We're also going to be tendering out for a new provider for our community profile and in the news publications. The contract with Catholic Social Services ended last month, and we'll be looking for someone similar to provide a similar product for those economic development inquiries. Other than that, staff have been really busy with development applications and with the mayor's busy travel schedule.
I was going to say, well, Cindy doesn't have much time other than organizing my life, it seems, right
Yeah,
now.
and reorganizing it.
Yeah.
And we're nearing completion on gathering information from all departments for the city's annual report. This will be presented at the June 25th council meeting for council's review and the public input. And then final approval will be given at the city's annual meeting on July 23rd. And that's all I was going to highlight, unless there's any questions.
Other than thanks for the reminder that I have to hurry up and get you the message for the front. Okay, any questions for Brenda then? No? Okay, thank you again. Move on to our Chief Financial Officer, Shelley. Nothing happening with the budget or finances?
No, in front of you. It's typical of reporting in the finance department. We write the report, and then by the time you get there, the things are happening. So just one thing I want to point out on the audit, we're just about complete. Today was our target for presentation, but we're a little bit delayed, so that will come probably at the next meeting. And we have a budget meeting today at 1 o'clock, as well as the public consultation tonight, and I encourage everybody to come out. And then you have some financial data on the Calvin Crook Center for the Arts and the Water Reclamation Project. And just some highlights on the special events. Congratulations to Donna on her nomination for the Civic Awards. You were all there, as well as was I, and to the other city staff that were there as well. Congratulations. And just wanted to let you know that the MFA, Municipal Finance Authority, has phoned us up and he wanted projects that to showcase on their new website, and they basically phoned us and are putting the Canada Event Center or South Peace Multiplex as one of their projects. It's not up yet, but when it does, hopefully we'll have a picture that we can show. So that's pretty much it. Strategic
Excellent.
priorities, haven't done anything until the budget's done, so.
And we keep changing that every day too.
It's just fun. It's the way it is.
Makes you feel any better, only a couple more meetings and then it'll be finalized for this year.
Part of the process.
right.
Just in time to start for next year.
Yeah. Any questions for Shelley then? For this? No? Okay, well, thank you very much. I know we have a couple more meetings today where we get to bug you. So. Move on then to 15.6 is the report from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development. And somewhat of a Canucks fan.
Yeah.
We all feel the pain.
Yep. Oh well. We'll move on.
Yeah.
A couple things I wanted to highlight is starting with development. As you saw in the meeting, we went through a number of development permits which aren't even on
this one.
This report. So it's been extremely busy since Easter weekend. I think that nice weather and things drying up, it's really kicked off. Speaking with the building department last week, at the end of last week, I think they said they issued 9 or 10 permits for homes. So that would be in addition to what you see on this report. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's kicking off. So it's good.
Well, last year was a good year, and that's not quite double going from standard to metric like I did this morning, but it's still a great number.
Yeah, I was just going to say we've got a good start at just about $6 million worth of construction by the end of March. So obviously the office building out at the Airport Industrial Park certainly kickstarts that with $2 million, but that's more to come. So that's really great to see. And development permits, last year we did 25 total. I think with what's on this and what we went through in the meeting, we're already probably about 14. So it stands to be a busy year. On the operational side of things, Public Works, probably noticed last week before, we're out doing some sweeping. It's going well. Obviously, this rain will slow us down for a few, can't sweep when it's raining, but the amounts out there are not nearly as much as we've had in the past because of our light winter, so things are going well. We've, and thanks to Donna downstairs, she's been organizing the lawn cleanup. We've got some groups, nonprofit groups together that will go around and clean seniors' boulevards that have got gravel on it from the winter season. So that's starting. So that's great to see, and hopefully that. I think overall numbers, we were looking at the list. We were about half on the list of lawns to do than last year. So that's kind of an indication again of just not as much out there to clean up.
Can I ask on that, Kevin, under our policy that we have that we go do those troubled intersections, has staff already done those ones?
They were working on it. I know Parks crews, Darcy's crews were working on that last week. Whether they're all done, I don't know, but I know they were working on them. So they did some handwork there, and if it was heavier, then they had to come back with equipment. So it just depends on the scheduling. But
it's also a time I always try to remind people, for new councillors too, it's this is one of those times we actually encourage people to put stuff on the roads, because don't worry about taking it off in a wheelbarrow. If you're raking your rocks off, put them on the roads. That's the whole point. The street cleaner will come by and pick it up, and then we recycle it and reuse it the next years. Yeah, and that's a good reminder, is that anybody out there that maybe hasn't got to rake off that little bit of rock, now would be the time, because the sweepers are out, and we'd hate to miss that. Come by and then have someone sweep it off a week later, and then it might sit there for a while. So, another thing I wanted to quickly touch on is at the water treatment plant, our manager John Kalinschuk and one of our operators, Kevin Walters, recently acquired some new certifications, so that was great. John was away writing some exams for his level 3 water treatment, and he passed that with some very high marks, and Kevin passed his level 1 water treatment and sewer treatment certification here recently. So that's good news, and congratulations to them for their hard work on that. And last thing I'll just touch on quickly is just some of the strategic priorities. Raw water reservoir design. We're just getting the RFP put together for that, so hopefully nearing the end of April we'll get that out for engineering consulting services. Water awareness program. We've been working over the last month internally, a bit of a group
putting an outline together, and next council meeting, my intention is to come forward with a proposal just to see what council's thoughts are on, we're looking at launching a web page exclusively for water. That will be basically a point of contact for everything water. So whether it's water conservation, watershed, water rates, news on water, we wanted to find a common spot that everybody could go to. So my hope is next meeting to come forward with council with a mock-up of that, that we can take a look at, seek some input with a possible launch the following week, which is World Water Week.
So on that, it'll have a link basically even to all of our policies, bylaws.
Yep.
We can
Facts,
like that, yeah.
Data from the treatment plant, and just like I say, anything that question around water, hopefully you can go there. The idea is on our city webpage, there'll be just a link right there for the water page. You'll go to that, and then basically, rather than reinventing the wheel, once you're at the water page, if there's existing information on the Planning for People website, it'll take you there, but it's just a common place rather than having to look a number of places to find that information. So we're hoping it's informative and effective. So, and the sanitary sewer master plan, you may have seen surveyors out. They've been out over the last week collecting data on all of the sewer manholes and inverts and that, and that's the consultants working for KWL Engineering. So they're getting all that information together. We'll be doing some flow monitoring this summer, and all that data is coming together and for this fall, so for the conclusion of that. So, any questions?
Councillor Schumann?
I just want to thank you for the idea of having a page for just water. I know I get lots of questions all the time about it, and having a really clear place to send people would be awesome. I look forward to that.
Well, we do have a lot of information, and that's what we really landed on as a group, and we have it. A lot of it's there. It's just pulling it together in a good, logical location. So.
That's great. That's a big question.
Good. Any other comments? Thanks, Kevin.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for the updates. Barry, good morning. Director of Community Services and guests.
And all people.
No, yeah, it's not the commish here, but.
Barry? Morning.
I wasn't going to say anything about your selection.
You didn't have to say anything. The ribbing emails I received from you over the weekend about my choices in the pool say it all. Another $20 down the drain. But anyway.
Good morning. I brought David with me this morning. David's going to talk about, I'll go through my report very quickly, and if there's any questions, but David's going to show us the update on the Pioneer Village bed reclamation, and in this case, I think it's very appropriate that David come in. David probably is one of our quieter employees that go under the radar, but is probably would be one of the most missed if he ever left us. David is really our beautification individual, and his background in regards to urban forestry, integrated pest management, the whole beautification, his understanding of where we need to go with, preservation of our water and utilization of our park is very critical. So I thought David could take a couple minutes today to show us that, and very good for council's update, but for the public as well to hear that. Shelley, I'd like to start off by thanking you. It's hard to believe how humble sometimes our staff is, but Shantae and the pool didn't even mention that they were the Civic Award winners of the Family Friendly Business of the Year Award. We boast a lot that we've had over 500,000 people through our pool, and again this month we put over 10,000 people through. So congratulations to Shantae and Anna and all our pool staff, and on what a great job they did. It was nice to see them get that recognition. A couple important things coming up this week. Annual ICE user meeting, which will be critical that all our user groups get out. It's our opportunity to start to set the grounds now that we know that we've got some different challenges with with probably going back to 2 ice surfaces versus the 3, and ensuring that our ice utilization is properly allocated. And we do have policy which assists us with that, which is great. So we know that'll be a very busy meeting, and it's also an opportunity for us to bring them up to date on our user fee meeting that's coming to date, and quite receptive to get some of that input. I've highlighted out of the Ken Bork Aquatic Center, there's a note there. The Chetwynd Swim Club is actually overtraining in our pool right now. They've got some maintenance and shutdowns, so very good, again, to be able to reach out to our community partners and support them, as well as a new Dawson Creek Rams Winter Club. We've got a new group that'll be extending swimming opportunities and competitive swimming for almost like year-round with our seals as well. So we'll see how that goes. Very busy on the spring side. Just a number of things we wanted to highlight under the upcoming events, which everyone is well aware of, but reminders are always good. Pitch-in week and our annual spring cleanup campaign, those are very critical dates, so be aware of them, and I'm sure they're on the websites, and the committee is working very hard. I think Councillor Wilbur, there's some school activity going on this week as well. Under our strategic planning priorities, our user fee policy work is coming it's coming along very well within our own departments. We've got internal meetings that we do almost every second week to collect our data and review that, and next presentations will be May 28th and 29th. Will involve some work with council, updates to council, as well as that's our community planning night. We'll be inviting as many not-for-profit and sports recreation groups out to meet with us to talk about those opportunities further engaging in public consultation with us. So we're looking forward to Brian coming back up and working with that. Good news on the energy manager side, we have hired a manager, and he will be starting. Matt will be with us next week coming up, and we're excited about getting that process done from our priorities as well. And U18 continues to be in progress and seems to be moving along very well. So with that, I'll leave any questions to the end. I did skip through there quickly if there's any questions you might have, but I just wanted to spend the next couple of minutes with David. And David, your plan is in here.
Have they seen it?
No, actually they haven't. So I will do the Vanna side and hold it up, and actually I may pass one to one side and the other as David explains it. But Jim, I'll leave one on
Yeah,
this.
I'll just go through this really quick. It's reclamation for the gardens at Pioneer Village. So we're going to, for the most part, redo everything. It's pretty weed laden, and that's usually the way to go, is starting off fresh. But we will, of course, leave anything that's large and established there will remain. So I'll just start off maybe in the parking lot area and move my way down. Along the fence line, it'll just be grasses and some pine, and then we'll just go around outside of the gardens with a garden wall, so that way it's easier for maintenance as opposed to the plastics that's there, and then the turf and stuff doesn't grow in hinge on it. It's going to be kind of water friendly, so there will be no irrigation at all put in. It'll be mulched like most of the rest of the beds we do around town. There is 2 water features, but there's currently a water feature in the back, which is a pond, and ponds, of course, require water to be moving 24 hours a day, so that way it doesn't go stagnant, have issues with insects and whatnot. But in this case, we'll replace that with a pondless waterfall. So it has a cistern in the ground, and then the water actually goes down into the cistern and then circulates. So that way you don't have a lot of open water, and it's all the water from that will come from Sedaten Hall itself, off of the east trough. And then the system also gets shut down. It's on timer, so that way when Pioneer Village is active, then it comes on obviously, and then at nighttime it's shut off. So then and then everything goes down to the cistern to save water there. And it also has a dry creek bed, and I did that, and I ran an east trough into that, so that way when it rains, I guess it's not so dry anymore. But it's all pretty much based on, not quite on xeriscape principles, but on water conservation and using the current country style theme.
Nice. So the plants that you're gonna dig up, the ones that you're not saving, what are you doing with them?
For the most part, we give them away. So, because what it is for us is it's very, very time consuming to go through the plants. You'd actually have to make them bear root to replant them again. And it's fine for a homeowner or somebody with a lot of time on their hands to do that. But for us, it's just way easier to start fresh. So whoever, Horticulture Society would be the first, obviously, to go through it. And then after that, whoever has time on their hands to be able to rescue them.
Okay. I mean, I like to rescue.
Yeah, no, like.
Homeless perennials
Yeah,
are
exactly.
always my favorite.
It's just, you can understand, I think that it would be quite time consuming for us
Yeah,
to do that.
absolutely.
And create a holding bed and everything else, so.
Any other questions? Joe?
These schematic plans you have?
Yes.
Is it possible for me to take them to the annual general meeting on Wednesday?
Oh, absolutely, they're yours.
Thank you. I'll take them.
No problem if you need any
And
more.
I'll give them to the My Park Society.
Okay. If you do need any more, then they're.
Yeah, give me
print
another
small.
set.
Okay, for sure.
Okay, Councilor McFadden?
Okay.
Just to vary, the Brian is the user fee fellow.
Yes,
He's coming back 28th and 29th
28th, 29th, yes.
for his public user fee meetings, that sort of thing.
28th, he'll do an update to council, and I'll get that information to Cindy to distribute to you. And then council will be invited to attend the public consultation as well, if you so choose to. It looks like a number of groups. We've been working, we just finished our summer ball soccer group meetings and had a great discussion with them, and they'll all be out as well as all our arena people. Any of the non-for-profit groups that we know that will be impacted, we hopefully can get out.
Yeah, he puts on a great little seminar, so anybody that missed that should certainly try to go to it when he's back.
When is that again?
May 28th, 29th.
May the 28th?
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll provide that information, update to council in regards to the process. That will be your update and then input to some of your thoughts. But the key of bringing Brian back in under our consultation was the big part. And most groups are very open for that discussion.
Perfect.
Barry, I got a lot of questions at the trade show about minor ball. There was a lot of people wondering who to contact with regards to minor ball. Do we have all those contacts at Parks and Rec? Or?
Certainly Parks and Rec, if they call downstairs, we could at least get them initiated. I know that minor ball is making an effort this year to regroup a bit, some more recruitment thoughts and ideas that they're doing.
Dan Hogan is the president.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure where to direct them, and I did suggest Parks and Rec would know
That certainly
better.
wouldn't be an issue at all. And I think they do have some websites up and running, but we can start downstairs for sure.
Jim?
Yes, I just wanted to say, well, a couple things. Firstly, this project that David's outlining for you is tremendous bang for the buck. It's the reason why it's a priority of the Miles Road Park Society Board, why they had asked for it. The overgrown nature of the gardens they have now, they just lost the ability to maintain them, and it has a real visual impact. This project is going to be a real, that first impression, curb appeal kind of project. It's going to be very, very nice. And secondly, I was going to say, David's not that quiet. It's just that when you're around Barry, there isn't that much dead air.
Aww.
It's that bait and switch thing again.
Yeah, so I have Councillor Parslow and then McFadden.
Well, I think that was most unfair of Jim to say that. I mean, hot air and whatever.
It's all good.
First of all, just for my information, you talked about the Horticultural Society having first hit at the track. I thought there was no longer a Horticultural Society.
Well, I think horticulture still exists, but they don't maintain Pioneer Village.
Yeah, I was just wasn't aware that this. I thought the society had disbanded.
No.
No.
Okay.
No, that one was just beyond what they're still out there as far as I understand. That particular garden was beyond what they thought that they could handle.
Oh yeah. Okay, well I'll dig into that because the invitation, they're supposed to have a rep on the board, and I've been told that they don't exist anymore by people. So I'll dig into that.
Okay, Councillor McFadden.
I haven't finished yet.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Charlie, go ahead.
Did I mishear something? You talked about having a meeting with the ICE users group.
Yes.
And did you say with going from 3 sheets of ice to 2? Did you say that in your?
Well, we had user groups that would have used the Encana Center.
Yes.
So although we don't maintain that, we're making assumptions that there will be some direction from council shortly on that. So we just have a number of groups that have moved over, so we're waiting for that as well.
Yeah, so I guess my question, is when will council be talking about ice surfaces? Given what Barry's just said, and we have talked about it with the sort of associated with the rage, and will ice be there, and Will we still have 3 ice surfaces? If not 2, which 2? And when will that discussion? When will we be informed?
Jim?
Through your worship, it's a good thing to bring up to Ryan, actually, when he's here. I believe his business planning at the moment is that Global Spectrum doesn't intend to have ice in, absent the rage, unless they had an event. U18 Women's Championship curling, some stars on ice, something like that. They weren't intending to maintain any ice except for events.
Okay, so
Yeah, just for clarification, Councillor Charlie, that's an annual regular meeting. We have 2 meetings a year, and this is really a kickoff opportunity for us to go through any past issues of the winter, but putting them on opportunity to get some dialogue with the user fee opportunity, and knowing that there were a number of groups or a couple groups that had shifted over. So we'll be waiting to hear input from them as well.
Okay, sorry, Councillor McFadden now.
Is this flower program, is it a 2-year plan or a 1-year plan?
I was hoping, well, it will be 1 year.
Okay.
Just go in there, get her done.
Yep. Thank you.
Just like you like to hear, get her done.
Absolutely.
I'm the hot air guy, David's a getter down here.
Okay, Councillor Wilbur.
I like that concept, get her done. It's my redneck veins. I think that's really going to be an enhancement to Pioneer Village, but what I wanted to know is about Job Fest. The date has changed, so I'm just wondering if we could hear a little bit about the Job Fest coming up.
It was supposed to be next weekend, and I believe it was changed into June.
Yes, and I apologize. I know Cindy has a date there. We could probably grab it very quickly.
But that's,
June 8th?
just for clarification, that's not being put on by us, that's being put on by the province?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I just wanted to prepare.
Yeah, so Brenda said June the 8th. Brenda, is that?
Yes.
We're doing logistical support for it.
Any other, okay, Councillor Schumann?
Will you be bringing our new energy manager to meet us anytime soon? I'm curious.
He'll be at the next council meeting for sure. We have scheduled meetings and all next week he'll be in probably Tuesday, Wednesday, get him settled into the community, and he'll be full scheduled meetings Thursday, next Friday, so next council meeting for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions then? No? Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks, David. Thank you.
Do you want this back?
Charlie's taking it.
I need the other one. So I'd like one set for the Historical Society as well.
Okay, so
my,
2 more?
no, this one and one. One will go to Miles.
I don't want to get my hands on some of this.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Are they the same?
Yeah. So we have one item left. Let's work through that, Councillor. You want to grab that? They're both the same.
They won't. They don't like to see homeless.
And all their volunteer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think.
A lot of it came from their gardens.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Okay, Council.
All those weeds came.
Thank you. We're going to move back to 15-1.
Yes.
Yeah, I usually don't have to use the hammer, but.
Settle up.
Councillor Parslow. This is your item, so I'm turning it over to you. We're going back to 15-1. You had a question about city liaison role that you wanted to discuss.
Oh, yes.
Center Committee of the whole, because there's no,
Yeah.
I guess it's more for just a council discussions.
Yes, absolutely. The Historical Society and the Miles Zero people and others were asking me about role. I think some still go back to previous patterns, like whatever, I forget the name of these titles they used to have. But so anyway, I just wrote that up in the absence. I did bounce it off Jim, and I'm just sharing that for information. But perhaps you people may want to add or delete it. But maybe when we do policy review or something, it can find its way in there, or whatever. However you amend it.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Yeah, through your worship, we would suggest that after you've kicked this around, if there's a consensus, that staff reduce it into policy format, because we have no template right now for what a liaison person does. And the truth is that mostly your liaison appointments are to groups that have, the whole reason for the liaison appointment is that those groups have more than the standard amount of business with the city. They're either a fee-for-service group, or they are organization like the Chamber of Commerce that has a certain, position in the community regarding things like economic development. And councillors are sent with no direction from council about what their role is. So it would probably be a good idea to have a policy. This particular one, that Councillor Parslow has put some thoughts together, suggests that you would have a set of expectations not only for the councillor but for the organization. For instance, that they be a society, that they have financial records, those sorts of things. That's well attuned to your current grant policy. It may be seen in the transitional period by some of the groups to be needlessly intrusive. I don't know how the chamber would react if the council liaison said, we'd like to see your financial records because we want to be sure that you're maintaining them correctly. On the other hand, if they were to apply for a grant, Shelley would ask them the same question. So, it does seem to me as though one of the useful functions a liaison to the chamber could provide the council is come back and tell you, yeah, I've had a look at their financial reporting and it seems acceptable under our standards. It seems on its surface intrusive, but again, in that accountability piece where you're talking about public dollars, it seems like a minimum expectation.
That's right. Well, and thanks, Councillor. I mean, as I said, we don't have a policy, and every group that we've been a part of, probably one of the reasons why we haven't had a policy in the past is every group's kind of been different, and we've never really taken on a leadership role in those groups. It's been more of us going to those meetings and being the conduit as needed, and some are more functional, I guess, than others. And actually, it might be time, and I've got no issue with looking at something like this in the future, because we might get other requests down the line from other groups wanting a council liaison, and then we can say, does it meet the criteria? Because as you know, it's always kind of been something done in my office or around here, around what committees we'll even have or who we go to. So it might be a good stepping stone. So, Councillor Schumann?
So this is for liaison persons, not alternates. Yeah.
Correct. There are, actually, we now know there are some peculiarities. There is your appointments, statutory appointments. So Board of Variance. There's your appointments to the regional district. Those, in each of those cases, you're taking on actual duties defined under Act. Turns out it's the same for the library liaison.
Yes.
Something I was not aware of, and now I am. But under the Library Act, the council appointment to a municipal public library has duties, fiduciary duties and responsibilities in regard to that board. So this policy is not speaking to those. It's speaking to your normal liaison to a community group, either one of our fee-for-services or to the chamber or the exhibition association or, potentially if you were going to send somebody to be a liaison to the Rotary Club.
So currently, what are, so I know the Arts Society, the Chamber.
There's a whole, well, you look at everybody, what everybody's appointed to, there's a whole, that's
Is
the
there a
list.
big list of them?
Yeah, everybody's got 3 or
As
4 or
the
5.
As the liaison?
Community Services Network, things like that. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's quite a
Forgot
few.
about that one.
The art gallery or the art society.
Historical Society.
Yeah.
There's one to the Historical Society also?
Yes, the mayor kindly.
Yes, that's a
Yes,
new
I'm-
one.
I'm the alternate, I'm not the liaison.
That's a new one. But I think the point is because there are quite a few, and there's different expectations from
That's
some
right.
of them of what they
That's
want
right.
from us as
That's
well.
right, yeah.
And so it would be nice in some ways to have some guidelines. Go ahead, Sean.
But that
Yeah,
whole,
I-
that whole list needs to be looked at too. We have so I'm an
Sorry.
appointment, I'm sorry, can I?
No, go ahead.
I'm an appointment to the DCAA. I don't know why, quite frankly, but I see in here Councillor Parslow talks about an acceptable level of financial record keeping. If I went to the DCAA, because we give them no money, and they give us no money, and I say to them, well, I need to see your books, they'd probably tell me to take a hike.
Yeah.
And maybe they should, I don't know.
Actually,
Jim,
I would
just-
expect that as a society,
Yeah,
they would provide that to any member who asked.
Because they have
They have to under the Societies Act.
But beyond that, the DCAA is your single biggest tax exemption holder. The DCAA properties, if taxed,
Yeah.
would generate a ton of money and you exempt them. So I think it's perfectly legitimate for council to have a liaison there, and that council,
Yeah.
you know, to inquire enough to be sure that they are not somehow taking that money and buying themselves a fact-finding mission to Hawaii or something. I mean, it seems perfectly reasonable.
It does, but I think Councillor McFadden brings up a good point, and as we go through this process, it might be one of those that we actually look at all of the ones that we're on right now and say, is there a benefit, and discuss it, just like you say, because some of us might have said, doesn't make sense. I sat on it for 3 years as well, and they do a great job.
We go to the AGM and have supper and say what a great job you're doing, and then that's it.
But to Jim's point, I never looked at it that way.
No,
So those are the good discussions to have.
Well, and you're also on another, is that one,
Well, the athletic commission.
yeah, so, I mean, that's
more,
different,
but that's
again.
statutory.
I also
Yes.
wouldn't
So
expect
that's
any
statutory.
councillor to take the heat for this. If you reduce this to policy, the policy will have a list of council expectations that can just be given to the group. From council, not from the actual messenger, you know what I'm saying?
We'll make you hand deliver it, though. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, I now remember part of the discussion that spawned me to write this, because some people still believe that the liaison person, with the exception of library, is a member of the board and votes
Yes.
even though you tell them that's not the case. And then others still use that language that uses the word P. We have a portfolio, which has a whole bunch of assumptions associated with it. So
Which we don't have presently.
No, right, we don't have that. But most of the groups do spend or receive service in kind or cash support. So it's important that that they run properly. I mean, I have witnessed meetings where decisions are made without any motions or any record, and ask people as they leave the meeting, now, what was the decision about and they all have different interpretations, and then they wonder why they're not dysfunctional, right? Okay, all right.
But it's not up to us to.
That's not.
Well,
Jim.
the conversation that councillor, I mean, this didn't arise in a vacuum, as you know. This arose in the context of a recently very controversial matter. Because council's expectations aren't clear to a group like Miles Road Park Society, when you get a letter from the president, and then you get subsequent visits from the president, and the president is saying these are the things that need to be done to move the society forward, and council considers them and says, you know, that's reasonable and it's in keeping with previous consultants' reports, and moves ahead with them, and then discovers that some niceties had been missed, like the thing ever being discussed at a board meeting or any resolution supporting it.
Which we don't know about, though.
You do have an interest that board actually does meet, has agenda items, considers them and votes by majority. I mean, your interest as decision makers is the things that come in front of you are legitimately in front of you. So, I mean, I do think you have an interest in the functioning of these boards.
Okay.
All right.
Well, this has been, thank you for bringing it forward. It's been good discussion. Obviously, we can't make motions in committee of the whole, but I think it'll be one of those things that, you know, probably on the next meeting or something.
Brenda will put it in her file, and when we move forward policy or whatever, you can discuss it then.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense to be the appropriate place, definitely. Okay, well, thank you for that.
Interesting.
So on that, I believe we are at 16.1, which is a motion to recess into the close. Before I do that, make an obvious motion to go past noon first. Councillor Schumann, seconded by Councillor McFadden, who's nodding. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. And then 16.1, a motion to recess into the closed. Councillor McFadden, Councillor Schumann. All those in favor? Opposed, and it's carried. And we'll take 2 or 3 minutes, and thank you very much, everyone.